Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. Former Interior CS Fred Matiang'i is expected to make his first public appearance in the Gusii region today, ahead of an anticipated declaration for his presidential bid. Matiang'i, who is looking to solidify his ambition in his backyard, is expected to visit key towns in Kisii and Nyamira counties as part of his Meet the People tour. Matiang'i, who arrived in the country from the US a week ago, will be accompanied by Kisii Governor Simba Arati, Senator Richard Onyonka, among other leaders. Labour CS Alfred Mutua has said his ministry is taking steps to address sexual harassment in the workplace. He was speaking during Labour Day celebrations at Uhuru Gardens on Thursday. Mutua said sexual harassment remains one of the most common complaints received by the ministry and called for safe environments for workers.
Sexual harassment in our workplaces. Takuambia wa Kenya kwamba urembo akiandikwa, our sister, our children, our daughters, akiandikwa kazi, usianze kumpangia, unaanza kumnyemelea, na akikukataa unamfuta kazi, unaanza kumharas. We must ensure there is a safe working environment for our young girls and even our young boys. That power dynamics is something that we'll be talking about. A manager should not be dating a junior in the same office.
Mutua also pledged to crack down on cartels and drug recruitment agencies exploiting Kenyan youth seeking jobs abroad.
Embarking on various areas of providing employment to our people. One, we anticipate that we are going to create over 500,000 jobs overseas, and we continue to put in place measures to ensure safe and orderly and regular migration and mobility. We have started dismantling cartels who had controlled this space for years, and we will continue to do so despite their theatrics.
The Central Organization of Trade Union Secretary General Francis Atwoli has hinted at relinquishing the role he's held since 2001. This even comes as his tenure continues to spark debate, with some questioning his term limit as the union prepares for its next election in 2026. On Tuesday, COTU's executive committee members unanimously endorsed the 74-year-old to continue championing workers' rights. Speaking during the 60th Labour Day celebrations at Uhuru Gardens here in Nairobi, Atwoli acknowledged the committee's support, saying the decision should ultimately rest with the union's members.
I have served all presidents of the Republic of Kenya, and I also assured shop stewards recently that as you see me here, I'm contemplating to exit. But then, because we have democracy and there are people who are watching what we are doing, whether we are responsive to workers' needs or not, a section of my executive board met and gave another resolution, and they are confident in me.
President William Ruto's newly appointed senior advisor of constitutional affairs has taken to social media to defend his decision to take up the job. Professor Makau Mutua, one of President Ruto's harshest critics, stated that his expertise will be of good service to the president and the country, even as a number of Kenyans question why he took up the job. Mutua has in the past stated that serving President Ruto would be an outlandish idea, emphasizing that the president has always been on the wrong side of history. Mutua is the latest to benefit from the cooperation agreement between President Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga, signed in March. The law professor was Raila's 2022 presidential campaign secretariat spokesperson. India's human rights body is investigating reports that more than 100 children fell ill from eating a school lunch after a dead snake was found in the food. The cook reportedly still served the lunch despite removing the dead animal from it, the National Human Rights Commission said in a statement. The commission said about 500 children are believed to have been served the meal in the city of Mokama in Bihar State, eastern India. After children started falling sick, locals blocked a road in protest. The free school meals, known as the midday meal, were first introduced for children from poor backgrounds in the southern city of Chennai in 1925. However, there have been complaints of poor food hygiene. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
Do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill, it will happen.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country.
I mean, you'd be a fool to say, conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Traffic.
It's Friday. Let's take a look at what's happening on these streets as you get off a holiday and then into the weekend. Not much is kicking, not now at least. On Jogoro, there's a little bit of traffic. It's going towards Landis. It'll pick up as you get towards Kamkunji at the roundabout. As you come off of the Thika Superhighway, not much happening here. Getting through from Outer Ring through the Thika Superhighway and then in the other direction through North Airport Road, you're A-OK. Ngong Road looks good as it does on the Southern Bypass. Coming out of Westerns also looks good as well. We're going to see what Friday has in store. We'll do it together, won't we? We'll talk Spice FM, KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It is the 2nd of May, and here we are at 9 minutes after 6 o'clock. A very, very good morning to you.
Good morning, do.
Good morning.
How are you?
Mimi niko salama.
How are you?
I know what you're doing. But I'm fine.
Hata mimi niko fiti na
Uko salama?
Kabisa.
Good. Siti, how are you? Good morning.
I'm very well, thank you.
So you say it again.
I am very well, thank you.
Sawa, watu hawakwa wamekusikia.
Watu wangu wamesikia?
Sasa ndio wamesikia.
Niko na watu wangu sio? Okay, na ukiwatafuta unaanza kuwapata wapi?
Hapa na pale.
Hapa kule. Next utasema yaenda ikawa sio?
Hapa na pale. Uko na kule.
Very good.
Sindio?
You can even say huku na kule.
I can, and it's okay.
If someone doesn't like it, it's their problem.
That's their problem. Exactly. Because they're the ones who are doing the non-liking. Me, I'm just speaking the language.
Everything you said makes sense.
Thank you, please. Thank you very much. Oh, I was going to ask you if you took my lip gloss. But I found it.
CT wants to glow in the morning.
Wajua bwana. Kianza asubuhi na uchokozi hivi. Mambo mazito hapa.
Mambo mazito.
Uchokozi? You know, they used to tell me when I was young, I was a very, not when I was younger. I was a very gentle baby. I didn't cause any problems. I just used to, people carry me, I smile. I didn't used to cry, except I was hungry, I needed to be changed. I didn't give anybody problem.
Carry me, they go. Okay.
Now you,
Aseto,
flesh and blood did not reveal this to you.
Aseto, you're on cue.
Bas. Did you used to dance salsa? You enjoy the music salsa?
I really enjoy the music. Someone tried to teach me how to dance it.
Doesn't get any better than that, man.
No.
Wait. Ednah, they need to look into you.
That is a Mbilia Bell.
Mbilia Bell.
Yeah.
This woman did some good music, didn't she?
Oh my
goodness.
My goodness.
Hey, Ednah, I'm afraid of you. Officially.
Mbilia Bell had a son with, is it?
No, they are pointing.
Alus Mabilia. Yeah. She has a child with a fellow musician.
I wish I could answer in the affirmative.
Yeah.
But you cannot.
I am none the wiser.
Okay.
Yes.
It is Friday, as you can tell. Getting into, Ednah, I'll buy you something today. Thank you.
I was very happy.
Yeah, started off the day very well. Thank you so much.
Very well indeed.
Indeed. Getting into the final conversation for this week in the Situation Room, let me tell you some of those conversations that we shall be having today. Excuse me. It is at 7 o'clock that we'll be talking about treating fibroids in Kenya as our Healthy Friday conversation. It is a condition that affects very, very many women, and most people get into a situation whereby they have to have surgery or they live with them, and then it affects, all sorts of things. And we'll be looking into that today with Dr. Kireki Omanwa. And he's the president of the Kenya Obstetrics and Gynecological Society. And we'll be looking into that today at 7 o'clock as our Healthy Friday conversation. And then at 8, we'll be joined by Dr. Julius Mbijiwe, who is the Chief of Staff of the County Government of Meru. We'll be talking about now, under new leadership, what does the county look like? And are we done with that whole impeachment fever? Are we now going to buckle down and focus on work? Let's see what happens coming out of Meru. And then finally, Fred Muchina is the General Manager, General Insurance Zamara Risk and Insurance Brokers Limited. We're going to be looking at e-mobility. You ask yourself e-mobility, so you're thinking, am I on a truck, am I a bus, am I going somewhere? We're going to open that up today. We'll be looking at sustainability and the ESG solutions systems, or rather the insurance solutions. And so that conversation will round the week out with at 9 o'clock. Okay? So those are the conversations that we'll have today. We're going to get into it proper. Into CT Dennis here with you as we get into Kenya's biggest conversation for this morning. How about we remind you that as you go to do your I was going to say Christmas shopping. One can only hope. As you do your weekend shopping and you're getting the last ingredients of back to school, think about Naivas at your local. Naivas Kiloko is where you need to go today, because all under one roof, you're going to get access to great discounts. It's going to be low prices, and you can actually stretch your kikapu. Kijaze, Kikapu, Kibonge, and Naivas. They've walked with you all through the celebrations, and now as we're getting back to school into the first week and some going into next week, don't scrimp on your shopping list. Everything that you need, all under one roof with Naivas, and you can make sure that your children see you as they get back into school as that source that got them on their educational journey. So do that this weekend and in the next coming days with Naivas, Kijaze, Kikapu, Kibonge. Now, it is also our last day in the People's Democratic Republic.
Algeria.
Algeria. This was one of those very interesting French colonies. A war was fought. A really vicious war was fought. The population of the French in Algeria was vast, well in excess of 2 million at some point or the other. And there are there are French men and women who, even after independence, remained. Many other people left. They left with the Spaniards and the Italians. And this war was fought because this was one colony the French did not want to let go of. Not really.
Nope.
But there are those who argue that this very popular movie, The Day of the Jackal, a part of it is a replay, a dramatization of some of the events that they say occurred as a result of this particular war. Yes. It was very, very vicious.
It was vicious.
It was vicious. And that war even went into France. And that war brought about very many changes even in French policies. Yes. But, as I say, that is his
History.
Yes, that is his story. Now let us talk about our story, which will derive from the proverb. Our final proverb from the People's Republic, Democratic Republic of Algeria. Mm-hmm. A sensible enemy is better than a narrow-minded friend.
Just because the person is your friend and you like them or they like you or whatever, doesn't mean that everything they say or do will be sensible.
If you have a friend and their sensibilities and their sensitiveness closely mirrors that of a doorpost, you are in trouble.
Doorpost.
Samba.
It doesn't move much.
No, yeah, it really doesn't. It's always there pretty much.
Apo too.
You'll travel and come back, it's still there. It's
still
there. Yeah.
Sawa, it's true. Looking forward to an interpretive Friday on that proverb as we get into it. Wacha tusalimia watu wameingia. And people are here with us this morning. Don Sabwa, we see you. You're saying it's the breaking news of the shooting and death of Mr. Were was by a blogger. Hold on. What do you mean? You need to be very careful with syntax here. Are you saying, Don Sabwa, that the murder was by a blogger or the breaking of the news was by a blogger? Do some commas and some colons and some semicolons there, and then maybe you can help us out here before we now start being blasphemous, shall we? Pauline Givaiga says good morning. Saseni says good morning to you too. Good morning, Spice family. Tuned in from Ombaso, says Robert Mbogo. Rahim Tula Omar is tuned in and says too many killings in Kenya. I'm telling you, there are too many. We are seeing too many of this. Is that English? Too much of this.
Too much of this.
Too many of these. Okay, so. Michael Olande says good morning from 1,000 Hills. Still on holiday. It's still a holiday in Rwanda. So you do like 2 days Labor Day. Abby, tell us, Michael. Mashari Anjeru's tuned in this morning and says, wish you a good Friday. Good morning to you. Chamgay, my beautiful people. Greetings from the beautiful city of Nairobi. And Gore, good morning to you. Martin on DT is tuned in and he says he's live in the champion city of Eldoret. Good morning to you. Desmond Oti says, good morning. Happy International Labor Day. That was yesterday, bro. But Ednah Ebu Nigote. Ednah, Salimia Desmond. She has smiled, she has done thumbs up, she has done the heart sign with her hands. Nini ingine wanataka? Tutamwambia. Jimmy Monuthi is tuned in this morning and says, I hear lots of celebrations coming from Gusii. Wonder why. Ebu, the same Ednah tunarudi huko. Nini? Oh, it's the Matiang'i effect.
Yeah. Matiang'i is starting the tour.
So people are... Okay, sawa. Bas. Sasa tumeelewa.
They are
ululating. So. Hillary Ogato says good morning. Aussie decides tomorrow. Yes, you decide who is going to lead government tomorrow. Joseph Okondo says good morning, Team Spice. Tuned in from Mombasa. It's raining cats and dogs. Do you know the history behind that phrase? So in that time, the hearth, the fireplace essentially used to be in the house. The rooms were not that big, so the fireplace, the cats and dogs would go and they would sleep on the hearth.
Okay.
Right? And then when the rain came down, it would flush out everything that was on the hearth, including the cats and dogs. So that's where the saying came from, and people would say it's raining cats and dogs. I just thought I'd share that with you this morning. Good morning from Pennsylvania. CT say Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Well done.
Good.
Cosmos is saying, keep up the great work you've always done. Asante Sana. Leo says, hello, Princess Undu. We must give Leo his floor because he's the one who first started calling me Princess, even when he did not know that I was one. So good morning to you, Princess, CT and Aseto. If we have to control social media like China, then let's fight corruption like China. Amen. Mm-hmm. Support innovation and industrialization like China. Amen. And have a working system. Amen. Kama tunataka kufanya hii, lazima tufanye hii na hii.
Kabisa.
Bas, wezi fanya tu
hii. Lazima umalize hii.
Yes, exactly. Sindio?
Kabisa.
Joe Munga is tuning in this morning from Bonny Lake. It's a broad and bloated government, right? In Ruto's house, there's a job for everyone. You know how we were saying during Coffee CT that in my father's house, there are many mansions. So sasa wanasema in Ruto's government there are many jobs.
Yes.
Come ye come. Come one, come all.
Come in,
Remember,
come all.
I told the benchmark in East and Central Africa is in Uganda.
Yeah.
I think it's 141 advisors.
You're right.
The president, how many advisors he have? Are they even 20?
No. He's
Then
doing okay.
Yeah, we're doing okay. Plus our economy compared to Uganda. I mean, we have money. So
Okay.
That's what we keep saying, isn't it? That's what we keep saying. We have money. Huh?
Eco. Pesa.
You know the way that thing is calculated, not everybody needs to have money. You just need to have a few people who have a lot of money. So you do the maths, divided by and all the other things, the number of people live in this country. Then it looks
Multiplied
like
by things.
yes. Then and divided by. Then you actually find that we seem to be doing very well.
It's okay.
No, it is not okay. But anyway, please carry on.
Let me carry on. Sisi amesema it's not a what?
No, it's not. It's not.
Jose Mahinda says, good morning, tuned in Team Spice. Welcome to Friday, Asante Sana. Good morning, Team Spice. I'm a sober addict of SpiceFM. I love that. Continue with the great show, Ndu City, Ednah, and Dennis. A blessed second day of May, Spice family, says Daughter of Africa. Good morning to you. Tibbs Muga, good morning, team. Good morning to you, sir. Hisa Daniel is tuned in from Atiak in Uganda. For sure, madam, you look beautiful, Bila Miwani. Wewe, nitatoa. Sitaona, lakini nitatoa.
want to see straight into your naked eyes.
We Dennis nakuona hata bila miwani nakuona. George and Demo says good morning Spice FM, listening from Asembo Ramba. Where is that?
Asembo is Nyanza.
It's in Nyanza.
Yes.
Asembo is in Siaya County.
In Siaya. Kimani Kenneth says good morning from Nyeri. Happy new month. May be full of blessings. Amen. Silas Owiti says, good morning. We see you. Karibu Sana. George Okoh is tuned in, my good people, and says the Kenyan police behave like they're not Kenyans and the responsibility is to deal with these Kenyans.
Silas Owiti was a very famous evangelist.
This one or another one called Silas?
That one passed away. Let me speak appropriately. He went to glory.
He went to be with the Lord.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. But when you mentioned the name, I suddenly remember there was a very, very famous evangelist
called Silas.
Owiti. His exact name was Silas Owiti. Yes.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Eric War says Boyaye by Billiam Bell, not Abel, Bell. But yes,
Bilia Bell.
Yes, put Abel, but it's not Abel. But we understand. Right? Roomba, definitely something to listen to this morning. Sarah Kilonzo, good morning, Spice. Another day that the Lord has given unto us indeed. Zach Okay says, good morning, it's Friday. Hii ni ile mwezi ya Wakisi kwenda Minnesota.
Si wengine walitoka huko juzi tukaona kwa airport.
Nile mwezi ya kwenda city.
Why this man? Ednah,
that man is speaking badly. Kwani aliyemkataza aende Minnesota ni nani?
Is there a correlation with the month of May?
And
Minnesota.
Wakisi
in May, Minnesota.
Sasa ni nini?
No, maybe wacha nirudie swali. Aliyemzuia huyo kwenda Minnesota ni nani?
Sasa unataka aje?
Okay.
But he said have a good weekend all the same. Rumba nayo kabisa. Agola, good morning. Sambilia Bell on this Friday morning indeed. Brian Munene says Friday it is. Yes it is. Fiery Red says love it. You all should do a dance every Friday. Umesikia Dennis? Wametupatia nini?
Next week is city.
Bas.
Next week is it what?
Dancing to that song.
I dance all the time. Why you just limiting me to one day?
Ndio sasa hiyo Friday wanataka
they need to observe when it is that I dance.
By the way, CT dances quite often. We get the privilege of watching that. But now what they have said is that they want to see.
They want to see?
Yeah.
Have they arrived in Minnesota?
Wanaendanga wakienda.
Or Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Okay. Thank you for saying that right, because it would just take us down the abyss should we not. Monica Oile says good morning, thanks for dancing that song, one of my favorites indeed. John Gishuki believes that we are great dancers. Asante Sana.
Good man.
Shem Ondara says good morning, and Erica War says she had a son with Tabule.
Yes,
there you go.
Yeah.
Shem Ondara, good morning to you. We love you guys, CT Indu and Dennis. We are only worried how politicians are behaving. Nakwambia.
Why?
Asidri. Joseph Okondo, good morning to you. CT, what are you doing? No, CT they're asking CT, what are they doing? CT, look what tuna dance.
Yes.
tulikuwa tuna dance.
Shake your leg.
Sonny Juthi says, good morning. This dancing reminds me of my primary school. We'd make the children do 2 rounds of running around the playground on a Monday morning because of being sluggish. Sindio, tunafaa kudance asubuhi ndio tusikwe nini? Sluggish. George Okoh says, Mr. Aseto and Billy Abel had a child with tabule. Sasa sawa, tumeelewa. And he had a list. She was actually in his band. No, yes. he was in her band, or somebody was in somebody's band.
He was in his band.
Tabule, Rochero otherwise.
Yeah, yes.
Nah, he was big stuff in his time.
So she was in his band.
Yes,
and she was in his band also.
Much younger. There's a much younger version of herself then.
Okay.
Yes.
From Hong Kong, Robinson Hisero says, good morning. It's sad to see people celebrating the loss of life of a politician. It should worry politicians, the level of disconnect they have to the people. This is something that we are hearing more and more. We'll get into that in a bit. Mutuflani, good morning. I'm sitting here praying that CT will have a very, 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 very long life so that we get to see him with 100% silver mane. Where?
CT, Ebu smile kidogo.
CT is blushing.
Not yet. When I'm blushing, you will see.
You will know.
Yes.
Watch haraka. Eda Tatu says this is natural medicine for shrinking fibroids. Wish I knew this before I almost died on the operating table. She says there is a natural medicine. We're going to be looking at that during our Healthy Friday conversation. You, Eda, like many also.
Eda is a medical doctor.
Yeah. You know. Husband Sidon says, good morning, beautiful people, and Super CS Ednah. Ednah Miske, when you CS. 2 years in politics is like 2 days. We will inject them. Where watch it too? Sawa. King Dave, we see you. Rwandia says good morning. Robert from Atlanta, CRMPs. Everybody's talking about this, aren't we? Good morning, Team Spice. We've had more press conferences than MPs. We've had more press conferences from MPs since the Kasipul MP kicked the bucket than we've had apologies for the murder of Gen Z. You see? Brian Aboga says good morning. Yusuf is saying good morning as well from Puntland. Good morning, watching from Chengdu in China. Good morning, Agak, watching from a place I cannot pronounce, but okay. That was inspiring music. Thomas Omosa says good morning. And I watch show live Akiwa Officini. Gilbert Kibuga says Kenya is a state of 10 millionaires and 10 million beggars. So what it looks like. Okoth Odega says good morning from Migori. Elvis Kirondo is here. Deknis is here. Evans Dande is also here. Ivan, good morning. Happy month from Fone in Texas, says James Kamau. Damsi Langat says good morning. Wilfred said thanks for schooling us on cats and dogs. You're welcome. Chris Moore says happy Friday and good morning. And Hans says good morning. Are we safe in these lawmakers' hands? Isn't that a question? Well, good morning, everybody. I know it takes us a minute to say hi to everybody. We just want to make sure that we do that every morning because it's great to have you join in this conversation with us. We're going to take 5 minutes and we're going to look into the headlines and then we'll come back and look at stories in details. And how about I start that off with the Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard, a fed-up nation on the front page. A message of condolence, as messages of condolence poured in following the death of Kasipul MP Ongondo Were, a wave of public anger toward the political class began to surface. Many Kenyans responded with scorn to tributes from fellow politicians and even offered prayers of gratitude for Were's passing. Given the depth of public frustration, disillusionment and resentment, it is time for the political class to engage in serious and honest self-reflection. Yesterday was Labor Day and there was a hope that goodies would come for the president. He said one thing: we want you to make sure that the minimum wage of 2024 and its implementation is done. That was the best of the promise of the goodies that he gave. So the headline is unmet expectations on Labor Day. Workers leave even with questions and empty pockets, but hold on to the presidential directive of implementing 2024 minimum wage promise. So those are some of the headlines making the Standard.
Let's go to the Daily Nation. And storm around slain MP, Kasipul MP Charles Ongondo Were, left Parliament shortly after 7 p.m. Wednesday. Minutes later, his car pulled up at a red traffic light on Ngong Road, where an assailant shot him and he was dead by 7:30 p.m. His death has sparked controversy amid claims linking him to bloody attacks in his constituency. But his family defended him, terming the accusations he had blood on his hands part of a cover-up for his murder. And farm produce drags jobs hit with 16% VAT. Healthcare providers and farmers are among losers should a fresh proposal by the National Treasury to introduce 16% value-added tax be passed. And Nyakango fights back in school bursary row with county chiefs facing sanctions for allegedly defying orders on county bursary funds. Control of budget, Margaret Nyakango returns to court and shot 13 times in front of his family and lived to tell the horror stories. Charles Kamau had just arrived at his home in Ruiru when an armed gang struck. Determined to protect his family, he confronted the thugs. All hell broke loose. These as Ruto's reliefs to pensioners, teachers and other workers during his statement during Labour Day celebrations in Nairobi City.
The president did well to do what he did and what he said, because what is the purpose of talking about salary hikes when CBAs that were discussed, agreed upon, ratified have not been implemented, in all honesty? What is this new thing you're talking about? Isn't it better to implement what has already been decided upon and then talk about what else can be done after that? Because I get the impression if these are implemented, then some of the woes that keep coming up will be limited. Yes, that was good. The star, God Almighty. Right. Weekend star. Tough decisions pull us out of an economic crisis. No. Let me read this again.
Okay.
Tough decisions pulled us out of an economic crisis, says Ruto. President William Ruto has said that his tough decisions have steered the country out of economic turmoil. He also took aim at the opposition, accusing them of scheming his downfall and urging them to hold off, saying that it was a waste of time and energy. Right.
Okay.
You must respect the freedoms that people have.
Of course. True.
Every citizen is entitled to that freedom. Okay? No exceptions here. While the cost of medicine, sugar, milk is likely to go up, President William Ruto, Ruto's administration, has presented a draft Finance Bill 2025 which walks a tightrope between offering tax relief to ordinary Kenyans while simultaneously, meaning one after the other, introducing measures likely to increase the cost of critical sectors. The proposed law focuses largely on efficient tax administration rather than introducing new taxes. This is good. This is good. We'll talk about these taxes when I look at the Business Daily. Bang in the middle of the paper, lawmaker had premonition of death, often talking about it. Who pulled the trigger on MT Were? Okay? That is a question that is being asked. In the Siasa columns, 12 years down the line, a devolution, a pain or a gain? This is the question. All right? Now, the Business Daily. Business is full of some very lively stories today. Very, very lively. Since we were talking about the Labor Day speech, something even more dramatic happened on Labor Day. The Federation of Kenya Employers on Thursday were blocked from addressing Labor Day celebrations in Nairobi in a dramatic day that saw the Central Trade Organization side with the government, and they were siding against employers, saying, you employers XYZ, you employers WFP, you employers, etc., etc., etc.
Interesting.
Yes, Jacqueline Muga simply was shut out.
Yes. And that stemmed from the fact that the 6% increment has never been implemented.
Has not been implemented yet. Yeah.
You know something?
Yes.
What does that achieve? Will it now be implemented?
Now that you've said that
And
they
that you
must,
shut them down.
and you shut
Yes,
them from
will it now be implemented?
If anything, you're going to see them taking their time, I reckon.
Right. Chaos as vehicle number plate shortage persists.
Oh, okay.
So if you buy a car brand new and you want to have a number plate, let me just read it. A shortage of number plates have persisted for close to a month, despite assurances by the National Transport and Safety Authority, NTSA, to resolve it, hurting motor vehicle dealers who are stuck with units as custom stations at the port of Mombasa.
Sasa nisiniweke tu yangu.
No.
Ndu.
No.
Sasa hamna.
The customized one you can, it's just that it costs you a pretty penny. BAT payout to farmers rises to 1.1 billion. And here you thought that people are no longer growing tobacco. Tobacco farmers contracted by BAT earned 1.12 billion in the year ended December 2024, marking a 17.4% increase from the year before. The company paid 954 million shillings. People are still smoking.
Proper.
Yup. Otherwise, these fellows would not be farming, would they?
No.
Commercial banks clash over CBK. No, I am reading my things this morning. Let me start again.
How about that?
Commercial banks clash with CBK over loans for pricing formula. Commercial banks have rejected a proposal by the Central Bank of Kenya to control lending rates and instead want a free hand in determining the risk premiums assigned to borrowers. This is nonsense. The Central Bank of Kenya has a role, and that is one of the roles. The banks can't decide
that they're not doing.
on what the role of the Central Bank is.
Yes.
Hey, Kwani, what is this? Or is it because they're holding government paper they think now they can grow horns and speak the way they like?
Yeah.
Nah.
CT said, nah, man.
Bang in the middle of the paper. Treasury shuns tax increase to calm Gen Zs. Finance Bill 2025 bets on sealing revenue leakages. Really?
Tutangalia.
A draft table to the House remains open to changes.
Acha tuone. Okay, so those are the headlines. We're going to look at a little bit more meat into some of these stories because there are quite some of them. CT, your finger is up, yes?
There is a picture of a lady called Paulina Lanko. This lady is an amazing lady. She happens to be, her full name is Paulina Nziza Lanko. She serves as an elected Rugby Africa Exco member and chairs the Women's Rugby Advisory Committee. Okay? We talk of the men's sevens team in this country. We don't give the women's sevens team sufficient kudos. That team works wonders.
Very.
My friend, if you watch the things they do on the pitch, it is fantabulous. Anyway,
great
I needed to say that.
Beautiful. Fantastic.
Yes.
Let's take a break. We'll look at weather and traffic and come back and look at more of these stories in the meat. Yes? At 21 minutes to 7.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
Partly cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. We'll see highs of 26 and lows of 15. It is 14 and sunny into Nakuru with highs of 26 and highs of 25 and lows of 15 in a cloudy Nyeri. It's sunny at 13 into Eldoret, while Mombasa is raining heavily at 26, and it's partly sunny at 27 in Malindi, partly sunny at 19 in Kisumu, and we're looking into sunny conditions at 17 in Kakamega. The rain is also coming down in Kampala at 19, while it's mostly sunny at 25 in Dar es Salaam, clear at 11 in Johannesburg, while it's mostly sunny at 28 in Mogadishu. It's partly sunny at 15 in Addis Ababa. It's cloudy at 27 in Lagos, with cloudy conditions at 23 in Kinshasa. Going into Friday afternoon, it is 16 and sunny in Beijing, while 13 and partly cloudy this morning in Paris, and it's cloudy at 18 in London, 15 and mostly cloudy in New York with highs of 24, 22 and lows of 14.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
All right, there's buildup of traffic in and outbound on Ngong Road this morning as you get towards the city. There is some of that comes in from that Karen area, and then Naivasha Road on the other side. Busy on Jago Road as well as you get out to the Kamkunji roundabout. We're also seeing some traffic starting to build on the Thika Superhighway, most of it contained right around Survey through towards the Pangani Underpass. It looks good for now on Kiambu Road, and also coming off of Limuru Road, we're not seeing too much traffic, at least for now. All right, it looks good also as you're coming off of the Eastern Bypass. You're going to see bits and bobs right there at the junction of the AP Training College entrance. There is some traffic that has started to build. It's going to find its way out towards North Airport Road and probably build up more. We'll keep an eye on things and see what it looks like at the top of the hour. For now, let's talk SpiceFM KE on X. Hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
At 18 minutes to 7 o'clock, we're looking into some of these stories. And this is the story that makes the headline, but it has also grabbed our attention on social media, especially from 2 nights ago. Now, just look at things in succession. When on Monday, the Blood Parliament documentary by the BBC came out, and there was all this, response to it. Parliament said its things, people said its things. And then we saw the killing of 6 people that evening in Transmara. The next night, then we see that there was, the murder of Kasipul MP Ongondowere, and the response that has come from people. When we did hear that in Parliament, they said, look, this Blood Parliament documentary people are talking about, people die all the time. Do what?
Sympathize and move on.
Yeah. Marsabit North MP said very clearly, we've seen them die. We have moved on and we are still alive. Those same words have been taken and they have been replicated across board concerning the death, the murder of Kasipul MP. And folks are saying, you know what? It is about time we had an honest conversation and reflection about this kind of value that we place. And then you want to start asking questions, is that why are people so angry? We did see yesterday from the news that, is it now a joint force? Or anyway, the police are really looking into the death and murder, the murder of MP Were. And then the questions arise. Why didn't we see so much attention when it came to the death of many Kenyans right outside Parliament on the 25th of June and days after? Do you see now how people are starting to make comparisons? And that this anger and resentment is actually fermenting, and it is fermenting properly. The death is exposing simmering war between citizens and the ruling elite. When President William Ruto issued a condolence message following the death of Kasipul MP Charles Ongondowere, the reaction on social media was not one of grief. Instead, it was met with sarcasm, scorn, and in some cases, celebration. One James Ndungu on Facebook said, if we continue at this rate, at least 1 MP per month, by 2027, we'll be free from corruption.
Hey!
Jamaican.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Not mincing the odds, no?
No. And a post like that garnered hundreds of likes and shares. It was not an isolated opinion. Dozens of Kenyans joined in, echoing the sentiment that the political elite had long ceased to represent the people. The backlash, coming just weeks after Kenyans' cold response to the death of Dagoretti North Member of Parliament Beatrice Ilachi's son, reflects a glowing chasm between the public and leaders. In his condolence message, President Ruto instructed the police to conduct a thorough investigation into the MP's death. Those responsible must be held accountable, he said. But to many, the words rang hollow. Millie Odhiambo on the floor of the House on Tuesday said something. She said, you know what? In as much as we say that media houses or anybody who's doing an expose needs to be careful about what they say, the message we need to hear is that message. There's something we are being told and we need to reflect. She did. She came out and she said, I can understand people will be angry here, but what is the issue? What is the matter? And if we don't look into it, we are going to have more problems. It is not the first documentary that has been done, neither will it be the last. But are there underlying issues? Why are people so angry? Why are people so resentful? And those are the issues that we'll be looking at. Mr. Speaker said, if we don't look at some of those issues, we'll be in trouble. She did. She came out and said it. And then it just blew up. She didn't know that Were was going to die that night. She did not know that the day after we would see an eruption of this sentiment on social media. But the issue is a real one and it is here with us. On the day before that is when Marsabit North Member of Parliament was saying people die and they move on. Would he share the same sentiment now when his colleague has also died? Will we say now he dies, we move on?
Sympathize and move on.
We sympathize, we move on, and we continue with other things. We are dealing actually with, what does disease mean? Disease, when you look at it and you break the words apart, this is lack of ease, lack of comfort. There is a disease in society. It's a major one, and it's eating at the very fiber of all of us. And if we do not start to look at it critically in honesty, we're going to have more problems than we can imagine. It just takes a spark to get a fire going. And already the sparks are being lit. If we can't see it, we need to actually pay attention. The words that people speak are not just flippant. They're coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about? When people say, why did we not see quick movement when it came to blood and guts and brains spilled outside Parliament on the 25th of June? Why didn't we see that? Why haven't we seen more when we see bodies bagged at the quarry? Why haven't we seen more when we see bodies floating in rivers? Why? Are we saying that some people are more important than others? We should sympathize.
That's
in fact,
exactly.
I have a problem.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be happy at the death or demise of somebody else. That also sheds light on how we actually feel. But there is dis-ease. There is dis-ease. And I think we need a divine doctor.
You see, if you go back to June 25th, when that happened, you remember the words that the president said, that the demonstrators had been infiltrated by goons and those were thugs, treasonous individuals and whatnot. And the expose just came to explain exactly that, because I remember when even the president's statement was quoted in that. Now you extrapolate that to what you've been seeing in the country, the killings in Narok, and then the killing of the MP, and look at the sentiments. Even the video that is being shared online, it's not from Kenyan police officers, but you would see Kenyans comment on that and you would understand what exactly they're saying, because Kenyans are saying, we do not trust the leadership, we do not trust the police, we do not trust those that we have given authority to represent us, those we have donated our powers to represent us. We do not trust them. And as Millie Odhiambo rightfully said, we need to sit back and look at the issue and address that, because we can't just sit and throw words simply because we have the floor to speak, but we need to sit and represent our people and handle the issues that they are saying.
One of the things that characterized the period just before multipartyism, unfortunately, was the weakening of public institutions. There were issues regarding ethnic polarizations, there were issues regarding corruption, but every government has had issues of corruption, ethnic polarization, but the weakening of public institutions. What we see, or what we've been seeing for some time, and it's now being brought to light in 3D, is why it is every time somebody who holds a high office, a representative of the people, whether it is a disease like cancer that has killed them, then suddenly every spotlight that is available is shone on that matter and the disease. And there's a lot of talk and a lot of promises, and then it will die down and it will be forgotten. So the many other Kenyans who suffer from one form of cancer or the other will be just part of the many people who are unwell. When institutions are weakened and they cannot do what they're supposed to do, and yet we're told that they're independent, then the thing that you want to avoid most is being given an open forum. Because you want to avoid by all means a situation where the citizenry feel that they can take the law in their own hands. We have reports of some of the major cities in this country having an increased activity of gangs.
Yes.
That is the citizenry taking the law into their own hands. You may not think so, but it is.
It is.
And then, if they grow, they actually become a quasi-government unto their own. And they create laws by which they function. These are not situations that you want to encourage.
No.
Because when it snowballs, then you are likely to get into a situation where you can no longer control it. Then what do you do? What then do you do? Everything that we are speaking of is still within the range of being controlled and streamlined as we speak now. If they are not, that situation may not continue to abide.
You can do something about it now, but believe you me, if you don't, And this is the thing. And we've seen that advice come from very many quarters. If you don't start having honest, open discussions, conversations with people that are then backed with action, you know, you can't say anything. I can tell you anything. But if they're not backed with action, showing that the words that you speak actually have some kind of meaning, you know what? It's going to go further and further into this abyss. I keep saying, when somebody tells you, they are telling you something. Believe what they're telling you. If we be, it's just, and it goes in the other way too. You see people who are getting on Facebook, you see people who are getting on social media saying the things that they're saying. My God, believe them.
True.
Believe what they are saying to you. You have an opportunity to turn it around. You have an opportunity to reduce the flames of this fire. If I am in a position to beg anybody, I beg you, do it while you still have the ears of Kenyans. Talk to your people. Do the things you said you were going to do. There was loss of life. You have basically told Kenyans that you don't care because you didn't investigate and you've not brought people to book. But then one other person, this is an example that you gave. There are two notable leaders who suffered death at the hands of cancer. City.
Yes, there were.
Two notable ones. And that's when we saw everybody shouting and talking about we must do something. What about the millions, the thousands who have been dying of cancer and whose families have gone broke because of doing that? What happens to them?
You know, the thing that sometimes is difficult to understand is how it is those in leadership think that the situation that is presenting itself on a daily basis, how do you think this situation can be sustained? Because it gets to a point where it's untenable. It's you do not want the people of the country to become extremely desperate. That is a situation you do not want at all.
You see, even as the MP, where his death now is being reconstructed, tracing his footsteps, what time he left Parliament, you could actually even see members of Parliament saying there's no way he could have died at 7:30 because there are places he went to. So they understand his movement and they're just doing their dog investigations and piecing everything together. But you see, DCI now is going, collecting footage from different establishments just to try piece up the evidence and investigations as happen. And Kenyans online are asking, back 25th, Parliament is the most protected area with CCTVs everywhere. All establishments there have those footages. Why haven't we seen the same energy being given to investigating what happened on the 25th?
But Dennis, what's the difference between what DCI is doing now concerning Where's Death and what the BBC did with the footage that we saw that they all castigated?
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. They put together the footage from Parliament buildings, put it together for you to see. This is exactly what we have. What's the difference between that and what DCI is doing now?
Let me tell you the difference. DCI actually do the investigations. It is what is done with the report.
Yes.
Because if I was DCI, even at some point I'd get tired. Because you do the legwork, you present and say, this is what we have, you're told, put a lid on it.
Kaliapo. Let it gather
After
dust.
a while you figure, why do I bother with all these things?
Yeah.
Because you know who did what, you know when they did it, you know what is wrong, you do know. But you cannot do anything beyond knowing and writing a report.
And that is where Kenyans are saying, they are important.
There's
than
some that
us.
are more exactly.
It is them versus us.
Exactly.
That's exactly what Kenyans are saying. And that's why you see someone says, if this is happening every MP per week, by the time we get 2027, they're all wiped out. They're saying something that we're tired.
My friend, by the time this mass that some people are trying to ban has been put into operation and somebody has done his maths.
Yeah.
My friend, what does it tell you of the mind of that individual?
Exactly.
And the response will tell you.
The response is what will actually tell you the true picture.
It will tell you that there are very many people who have the exact same view.
Because remember, this is an individual who's just put that comment. And if you look at all the comments and people just single that out and they go celebrating and commenting underneath that, goes to tell you something. The unspoken is what our leadership need to take in.
And if you want to understand it even further, should somebody come in and try to bring in a voice of reason into that discussion?
Where?
Where? There is nothing you will not be told.
Tasalimio.
Where?
Properly. Properly.
Where? Hey man, you'll be told things. They'll even bring your relatives who are not there into the discussion.
My head is already aching. And the stories are many, but let me look at one more, isn't it, before we go to top of the hour.
Yes.
Nyakango fights back in school bursary tussle with governors, right? Facing contempt of court proceedings for allegedly defying orders concerning county bursary funds approvals, Controller of Budget, Dr. Margaret Nyakango, has returned to court seeking clarification on how to implement the decrees. You ask on what? Her application dated the 30th of April, Dr. Nyakango is seeking interpretation of court orders initially issued on the 3rd of February and subsequently clarified on the 8th of April by Justice Samuel Mohochi. The February 3rd order suspended Dr. Nyakango's decision to withdraw a circular issued on the 14th of January, which barred county governments from issuing bursaries to institutions outside their jurisdiction. This is your jurisdiction, issue here. You've been issuing outside. We are saying stop. Murang'a County, one of the petitioning counties, sought clarification on whether the court orders affected bursary funding for the current financial year. In his April 8th ruling, Justice Mohochi clarified that the interim orders issued on the 3rd of February only restrained counties from processing, issuing, or approving new bursaries extending beyond the current financial year, pending determination of the case. So now what happened in Murang'a County is that they returned to court accusing the Controller of Budget of defying the orders by refusing to approve bursary funding requisitions. Okay? So she said, we're not doing this outside of your jurisdiction. They go to court, they said, but we were told that we can do this. We're talking about the years before which you gave this order, or the period before which you gave this order. So she essentially is saying that through all of this, that the bursaries are being used for political gain and not what they should actually be used for. And she says, stick within your lane, essentially. You want to issue bursaries? Do it within this lane. Don't do it outside of that. County's not too happy, but she's sticking to her guns and she's going back to the courts to say, hey, tell us exactly what it is that you meant when you issued these conservatory orders. Those are the kind of things that we're looking at day in, day out. Some of them make you weary of heart. Some of them make you want to keep giving a voice to those who don't have one. And we continue to have those conversations. It's important for us to do so. A day does not go by when we don't remember our friend, our colleague, and our brother, Edward Kwach, who went home to rest a few nights ago. We continue to remember him and rest in peace. Good morning, it's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. The family of slain Kasipul MP Charles Were has accused the government of laxity following his assassination in Nairobi on Wednesday night. The family says Were had complained that his life was in danger several times and reported the matter to the police, but no action was taken. Joash Alo, who's chairing Were's funeral committee, has called for thorough investigations into the shooting.
Tuko na usuni mingi sisi kama watu wa Kasipul kwa sababu tumepoteza mjumbe wetu ambaye amefanya kazi. Yeye ndiye alikuwa namba 1 katika development Nyanza region. Sasa naomba kila mtu Kasipul tukae na amani, tuachie serikali wafanye uchunguzi, lakini tunataka hiyo uchunguzi ikuwe ya ukweli. Tutakaa na watu wa familia hii kuanzia leo mpaka siku mheshimiwa ataletwa hapa nyumbani asiwe.
Homa Bay Governor Gladys Wanga said the family was in distress as she joined other county leaders in sending their condolences.
The family is distraught because this came so suddenly, most unexpectedly. They traveled long distances from across the country to catch up with their loved one, but they didn't. It's a very, very big loss to us as a community of Homa Bay County, to Kasipul people. It's a huge loss because Honorable Were was a consummate politician, He loved his people. He was always with his people. He loved his family. Balanced. He was a dependable person.
For her part, Homa Bay County Woman Rep Joyce Bensouda condemned Were's murder.
The death that has occurred, I urge and I voice out and support all leaders, and as Kenyans, we have to live in harmony. We have to live in peace. We are not coming to terms, but we are praying that the family may be comforted. It is not an easy moment, and to any other person, such kind of death is not right death. God designs somebody's life when you're given birth to the world, and we should not have such kind of hyenas kind of action. It is not worth it. For whatever person, whether leader or not a leader, it is not right, and we condemn it.
This even comes as detectives have zeroed in on a suspect who was captured on CCTV trailing Were minutes before he was gunned down along Valley Road. Officers from Homicide and Scenes of Crime units reconstructed the scene as they tried to piece together clues and evidence that might assist them in nailing the killers. The MP was being driven to his Karen Gongview estate when his life was cut short on Wednesday evening. His driver and bodyguard escaped unhurt. Workers in both the public and private sectors will now enjoy tax exemptions on pension and gratuity payments. President William Ruto, who made the announcement during the 60th Labour Day celebrations at Uhuru Gardens here in Nairobi, said the move is part of efforts to boost the financial stability of pensioners.
All pensions and gratuity payments for both the public and private sector will now be tax exempt. This reform is a recognition of the service and sacrifice of our senior citizens and workers, and a step towards ensuring that retirement is met with dignity, not stress.
To further enhance efficiency and employee benefits, employers will now be required to apply eligible tax reliefs and exemptions directly when calculating pay as you earn, rather than leaving workers to claim them from KRA. Small businesses will also benefit from simplified tax treatment, as they'll now be allowed to fully deduct the cost of everyday equipment in the year of purchase, eliminating delays in accessing tax relief. US Vice President DJ Vance has said the war in Ukraine is not going to end anytime soon in an interview with Fox News. Vance said the question facing the US administration now is how it can help Russia and Ukraine find middle ground to end the conflict that has been raging for more than 3 years. But Vance added it's going to be up to Russia and Ukraine to come to an agreement and stop the brutal conflict. His comments come shortly after Washington signaled signed a deal with Kyiv to share the profits of Ukraine's rare earth minerals in return for future US security assistance. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
Spice FM, Nakuru. Traffic.
All right, taking a look at what traffic looks like right about now. We've seen a buildup of traffic coming along the Thika Superhighway, but nothing too crazy at the moment. And it looks like Friday may not be too bad when it comes to traffic. There is some traffic that's building up on the eastern bypass as you come out through towards Embakasi and then towards North Airport Road. Looks like it will continue for some time. Also looking at traffic that's coming off of Kiambu Road starting to build. Now is when we see a little bit of traffic on Limuru Road and then coming in on Ngong Road as well. We will see some traffic start to build up around Magadi Road, spilling over towards Langata Road. But for now, in the beginnings of it, let's see what Friday has in store. We'll talk to each other, won't we? SpiceFM KE on X. # The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
A very good morning to you at 6 minutes after 9 o'clock, and happy Friday. Getting into the final conversations for this week on The Situation Room. Thank you for joining us around the country on our live streams on Facebook, on YouTube, and on X. And we're going to say welcome to our audience on KTN. Karibu Sana. As you join us on radio around the country, the region and the world, this is Kenya's biggest conversation. Ndusiti and Dennis with you today. And we're getting into a healthy Friday conversation right now. But I want to remind you, as you get into the weekend, you want to take advantage of the unbeatable discounts and everyday low prices and a full range of back-to-school essentials all in one place at your Naivas Kiloko. We're getting back into school. We've done it for the last couple of days. And we've also seen the experiences through which Naivas has walked with us. And we'll walk through this with you again as we get back into school. We know that you'll be topping up that shopping. So don't worry about how far your shopping basket can be stretched. Ki jaze, ki kapu, ki bonge with Naivas. And let's make this season a breeze as you turn into the hero they see you as you walk with them every step of the educational journey. Do it this season with Naivas. We have a healthy Friday conversation as we normally do Fridays. And today we're going to look at one issue that has bothered many a woman. And by virtue of the fact that it has bothered many a woman, it has also bothered many a family and many a community. And we're looking at the issue of fibroids. And even as I mentioned it, you already know what it has done. But there's a ray of hope in treating fibroids in Kenya. And to have that conversation with us this morning is Dr. Kireki Omanwa, who's been with us before. He is the president of the Kenya Obstetrical and Gynecological Society and joins us in the hot seat this morning. Daktari, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm well.
Yeah, Karibu Sana. It's always good when a doctor says they're well. Because you know we're in good stead, isn't it? So we're going to be looking at what has been a sticky, thorny issue for many women and many families in terms of to surgery or not to surgery and how you're going to treat it. But what is the ray of hope for many women who've gone under the knife and still have issues? And we'll look at the causes and we'll look at the treatments and we'll look at, this ray of hope, essentially. But before we get into that conversation, CT will tell you what country he's in this week, and he'll share today's proverb with you. And you can do the beauty of interpretation for us, right?
That's all right.
Okay.
We are in the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria. Mm-hmm. Yes, a lovely, lovely, lovely African country. The proverb, a sensible enemy is better than a narrow-minded friend.
A sensible enemy is better than a narrow-minded friend.
Yes.
Now, that's a difficult one, CT, for me. It's this morning to end the week. But I think if you have a sensible enemy, I think you can be able to talk to this enemy if you have issues, as opposed to the very narrow-minded friend whom you may not be able to come to terms with anything. So I think it is possible, and as they say, you leave your doors open with enemies, because enemies can also be friends turned inside out. That's the way I'm looking at it. So if you have a sensible enemy, you have a chance of maybe striking a deal, as opposed to a narrow-minded friend.
Well put.
Absolutely. That's it. I love it. And even as we jump into our conversation this morning, we're looking at fibroids, treatment in Kenya, and looking at a ray of hope. But by the time we talk of a ray of hope, that means that there's been long suffering.
Absolutely.
For women. Let's start off with definitions when we talk about fibroids.
Yes.
What are they, and, how do they present?
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to the studio. It's always a pleasure to come here and talk about women issues, and women issues we know are central to the health of a country. And I think, again, when you look at our constitution, Article 43, it says that every person, every Kenyan has a right to quality healthcare, and especially reproductive health. So reproductive health, women health is central to our development and our quality of life generally. So when you talk about fibroids are basically it's a benign growth, or they are benign growths. And these growths are on the uterus, on the fibrous muscle of the uterus. There are different types of fibroids depending on the location. They are what we call intramural fibroids. Just as the name suggests, they are in the muscle of the womb. They are what we call subserosal fibroids, and the serosa is basically the covering of the uterus. And if fibroids grow just beneath the serosa, they are called subserosal fibroids. Sometimes these fibroids will go and they will have a stem, sort of, and these ones we call pedunculated fibroids. And we can also have what is called submucosal fibroids. And what is that? Basically, if I would say that, if I look at my hand, that this is the uterus, anything that grows inside what we call the cavity, and the cavity is where a baby grows. So anything that grows there is called a submucosal fibroid. Sometimes the intramural fibroids may grow to such an extent that they will sort of poke into the cavity, and they'll be called submucosal fibroids. You can also have what you call cervical fibroids as well. And these ones grow, they may be two types. They may grow on the cervix, and the cervix is basically the entrance into the uterus. Or they can also be pedunculated, meaning they grow inside the cavity. They have a long stem, and they appear on the cervix. Now, fibroids are very interesting. It's a very interesting pathology. If you look at the epidemiology, that is how often they occur, it is one of the most common issues affecting women. Depending on which researcher we look at, it is estimated that anywhere between 20, others say 60, even up to 70% of women, especially women of African origin, it doesn't matter where they are, whether they are in Cuba, whether they are in Colombia, whether they are in Africa, whether they are in the US, they will have fibroids during their reproductive periods.
70% of all women?
In the reproductive periods.
Oh, wow.
In the reproductive period. And normally we look at the reproductive period from anywhere between 18, 19 years to around 40, 45 years. Now, it has also been noted that women of African origin, the number of fibroids that they have and the sizes, the number is more, and the sizes are a lot bigger as compared to other races, as it were. Just as one of my colleagues actually wrote a paper, he wrote a case report, and the title was quite enigmatic. He said, "Mine are 140. What about yours?" Basically, what he was saying is that he had removed 140 fibroids from a patient, and he managed to retain the uterus. So this is a problem, and we see a lot of women who come to us because of fibroids. They've had a lot of issues, and one of the biggest problems that we have with women in this reproductive age is fibroids, and also it is one of the most done, if I can say, the most type of surgery that is done is one of the most common.
Wow. So, I mean, we talk about it being so prevalent, and we know but what is the cause of these fibroids? What causes this growth? Benign as it were, what causes it?
We are not very clear about what the cause is. When we have looked at the fibroids and taken them and analyzed them under microscope, and then tried to find out what are the receptors, because there was a hypothesis, there are different hypotheses that possibly they are they are caused by hormones. And what was found out is that the female hormone called estrogen, and this is the hormone that makes women be women, in the sense that they have bigger breasts, they have wider hips, they have a smoother skin, and so on and so forth, actually is contributory to the growth of fibroids. But why exactly, it is not very clear, because these fibroids, when analyzed, they are found to have more receptors of estrogen than the other hormone, which is called progesterone. So we are not very clear about what the reason is. However, there is anecdotal evidence whereby the fibroids run in families. You say, oh, my mother had fibroids, my auntie had fibroids, and so on. But do we have a genetic cause per se that says that this sort of pathology runs in families? No, we don't have something like that as yet.
Okay. Are we saying, therefore, that women of African descent have more estrogen than other women who are not of African descent? If, speaking anecdotally, this is one of the causes.
Thank you. I think that is a way we haven't looked at it, but it is possible, because when you look at quite a number of African women, you find they are bigger, they are rounder, as it were.
The word is voluptuous.
Yes, voluptuous. Good. as compared to other women. So yes, there is such a possibility.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Let's make the connection.
African women tend to have more ample proportions. That we have understood. But then whenever a discussion of this nature is had, and you're through with the hereditary aspect of it, people always talk about diet.
Diet, yes.
And what is that people are accustomed to eating. Would this play a part?
It could play a part, because one of the causes that it could be contributory to the presence of fibroids is diet, and then of course the obesity, that is also part of it. But is there cause effect, as it were? Not necessarily, but it is one of the things that we think that could be one of the reasons.
Don't see on a balancing scale.
Yes,
we seem to know less than we know more. So then, how do we treat it? I mean, because we are saying that this is a condition that is prevalent.
Yes,
but we manage or treat it with this little knowledge that we have. My question is this: why do we have little knowledge on the subject?
Because of several things, I think. First of all, when you look at, when you try to find out the real reason for this, we actually haven't found out the reason. We thought maybe, okay, because they have more receptors, estrogen receptors, so can we reduce the estrogen such that these receptors are fewer? You can't reduce estrogen in the body, because estrogen is basically the hallmark of a patient, of a woman, for that matter. In terms of diet, there has been some work which has been done, and there are some certain elements which have been found in some foods, and these foods are more prevalent, are more used by Africans. But does that mean that the food that we eat here is the same food that is eaten in the US, for example, or in Colombia, for that matter, or in other places where we have women of African origin? Not necessarily. So, in as much as we think that, yes, there could be an element of, diet, but we don't exactly know which of these elements is actually contributory to this.
So, Doc, you've mentioned something to do with the genetics and the way it could be through the family lineage, as could be a possibility, of course. So, with that information being then, perhaps your patients or women understand that, are we seeing more women taking charge in terms of their daughters going to hospital earlier, just to arrest it earlier to start treatment?
You see, when we talk about a genetic cause, is that we have to isolate that this is the gene that actually controls this disease. For example, we know there are genetic diseases like sickle cell anemia. We know what causes it, and it will control this, and so on. We know hemophilia, for example, and there is a gene which has been isolated, and this is across the board. Whenever a patient has hemophilia, this gene has been isolated. When it comes to fibroids, we actually don't have that at the moment. That is number one. And then number two, these are incidental findings. When you're taking the history, and a patient comes and said, have you in your family said, yes, actually my mother had surgery because of fibroids, or I have also an auntie who had surgery because of fibroids, and it ends there. Now, in order for us to say that, yes, there is a gene which is actually driving this, it has to be across the board. So you find there are others who have a mother, a sister, an auntie who had fibroids, and others are just isolated cases. It's just one of them who has fibroids.
Right.
So that is why we can't actually say that there is a genetic factor per se.
Unless a woman or a young woman, older, either way, had gone for a screening.
Yes.
Would I be correct in saying that most discovery of fibroids is when there is something wrong, that there is a symptom that would then lead you to check why? Is that the case?
Actually, yes. Okay. In a lot of the cases, the fibroids are asymptomatic. They don't have any symptoms at all. And by the time a patient comes and starts giving you her story, most of the time you have a 70 to 80% chance that actually this patient is actually having fibroids. And what are some of these symptoms? First of all, the patient will come and say, I've been having, when you're taking the history, one of the questions that we ask is, how are your periods? It's a basic, one of the first questions that we ask. My periods are regular. They come after every 28, 30 days or whatever it is, and they take long. How long? They take 7 days, some of them 10 days. That is already a red flag. How heavy are they? Oh, they are very heavy. What do you mean by that? And of course, what we want to find out, how many pads do you use? He said, Daktari, I use a pack of pads in a day, and sometimes I need an extra napkin, for example, in order for the periods not to overflow and, mess my undergarment. That is also another red flag. And then number 3, they say, and how are the periods themselves? Apart from them being heavy and taking long, they have clots. That is also another red flag. And then apart from that, because of the heavy loss of blood, you find these patients complain about feeling weak, feeling dizzy, feeling lethargic, and so on. So by the time we get all this information, we are almost sure that what we're dealing with is fibroids. And then when we ask them to lie down on the couch and we examine the abdomen, most of the time you see this is an obvious mass. The uterus is big. Sometimes it's reaching where, let's say, what you call 20 out of 40, because we normally measure the size of the uterus and compare it to pregnancy. So we can say the size of the uterus is equivalent to about 20 weeks of pregnancy. It's equivalent to about 26 weeks of pregnancy, and so on. And we have had patients who actually have been congratulated by their colleagues. They say, congratulations, when is the big day? But they don't know that actually these patients are having, huge fibroids, and they look as if they are going to deliver, in a week's time or in 2 weeks' time. And in the meantime, they have a huge problem, with fibroids.
But Doc, wouldn't you know that there was something amiss by the time? Because when you're 20 weeks pregnant, you're 20 weeks pregnant. You will feel it.
Yes.
And in this case, there's something in your midriff, and you're not pregnant. By the time it has gotten to that size, you would have known that there was something wrong, no?
Actually, yes and no.
Okay.
Some patients will say, I've been having this thing for some time. Then we ask them, how long have you had this problem? He said, I've maybe 5 years. And they said, 5 years you never noticed? Say, I thought it would go away. That sort of thing. And have you ever noticed anything hard? Someone you said, yeah, but I thought those maybe are the intestines or something like that. So sometimes, yes, these patients know there is a problem, and others either know and they are in denial. They don't want to accept that there is a problem. And there's a patient I had who unfortunately had fibroids for about 7-8 years, and when she came to see me, when you looked at her, you'd think that she's 38 weeks pregnant, meaning she's almost going to deliver any time. And then it got so complicated that she had, because of the size of the fibroids, they pressed on other organs in the body. She ended up having clots in the vessels, what you call DVT, and it almost killed her. And then apart from that, she was pregnant. So a very, very difficult patient to manage. So yes, sometimes these patients have an idea, and sometimes they are in denial. Sometimes they don't know.
Then again, at times, women go through this, because I've been around a relative who had fibroids, and when they asked, it was dismissed as kawaida, mambo ya wanawake itaisha. You know, it is dismissed like that, and one assumes that when 1, 2, 3 women that you know tell you about that, you relax and say others have gone through it and it's okay. How does that information or such advice affect one seeking treatment?
I think that is very important. Ladies, as opposed to men, ladies are very social. Ladies will meet and they'll discuss anything and everything. They will meet in my reception area and they will start talking. They'll ask questions. They'll ask each other questions, quietly. And after that, they'll even form a WhatsApp group, a support group, sort of. And unfortunately, sometimes this can be very good, because then the sharing of information is easy, but it can also be sometimes disruptive, because if you are sharing wrong information, then it will affect the health-seeking behavior. It's unfortunate that that relative of yours was dismissed. I don't know, was she dismissed by doctors or by her
No,
friends?
it's like you say, they formed a group where they were just having this conversation, and information she was given was wrong until that time when she was in extreme pain. Again, she was as well expectant. So when went now to an OBGYN, is when now it was found the complications and treatment now began.
Yes. So that can be very positive, the talking and sharing of information, but I hope it is positive, good information, accurate information, instead of saying, my auntie also had something similar, or my cousin also had something similar, Nailisha, and it was okay, whereby it is not proper information.
So, there are some myths. So debunk some of those for us. Yes. And one of the ones that we've heard quite often, and some of those coming in actually questions, is that if you have not had children as a woman, then the likelihood in that childbearing age that you speak of, 18 to 45, that if you had not had children or you've not been pregnant, that the chances of fibroids then presenting is higher. Is that true or not?
It is true.
Okay.
Because when you look at the reproductive cycle, by the time you get to around 13, 14, that is when ladies start having their first periods, meaning now what we call the HPO axis is actually active. But usually in the first few years, it can be a bit unstable. So when we get now to maturity, around that 18, 19 years, is when the periods become regular and so on. So this is a time now when, as we said, most of these women have these fibroids. When it comes to later on, after 40, after 45, most of these women have the estrogen levels have started, coming down. When they get to 48, 50s there, perimenopause kicks in, and then later on menopause kicks in. So the estrogen levels drop drastically. Even if they had huge fibroids, these fibroids will slowly shrink with time, and they will not be a problem. So yes, it is a quasi myth, but it is also true in a way. Yes.
Does it mean that if a woman has had a child before, the possibility of them developing fibroids then is close to zero? Or is that another myth?
No, that's a myth again. No.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Sometimes women have been told that when they do present with fibroids, they've gone for, examination.
Yes.
The advice of the doctor is to just leave them alone, and that there's no need to go in and remove them. Under what conditions would that advice be given?
Thank you for that. It's a very important question. As I said, most of the time these fibroids are asymptomatic. A patient will come and you ask her, say when you touch the abdomen and you examine her, you find, have you ever noticed anything? He says, no, I've never noticed anything. Do you have any problems when you go to the toilet, for example? You have what you call pressure syndrome, pressure symptoms. Sorry, when you go for a short call, you feel as if you've emptied your bladder, but after a few minutes you want to run back and continue. Say, no, I don't feel anything. What about when you go for a long call? Do you have any pressure symptoms as well? You say, no. During intercourse, do you have any problems? I say, no, I don't have any problems at all. So the fibroids are there. It is an incidental finding, and they are not affecting her in any way. So there is no point of taking this patient to theatre, because you are going to remove them, and then what if they are not affecting the patient? We should take these patients to theatre when there is an issue. There's very heavy bleeding, there are pressure symptoms, and sometimes they want to have a baby because fibroids themselves can be a reason for infertility, and a patient has been trying to have, to get pregnant a year, 2 years, or even more, and they have fibroids 5, 6, 7, 10 centimeters, and this can be a reason for infertility. Then this is when we take them to theatre for the removal of these fibroids, in order to also help them to have these babies later on.
All right, let's take a break at this point. It's a Healthy Friday conversation today, and we're looking at treating fibroids in Kenya and looking at a ray of hope. We're going to come back from the break and look at that ray of hope. Dr. Kireki Omanwa is here with us in the hot seat, and we're looking into many of these issues this morning, and then also trying to find out, well, is there possibility of other treatments apart from going under the knife? And that's a big one for a lot. We'll come back and continue with that at 28 minutes to 8. We'll be back.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Sugar and spice and everything right, Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
Save money on your rising electricity bill with StarTime Solar Home Solution. We offer a complete home and commercial energy saving system that includes solar panels with 15-year warranty, lithium battery with 10 years warranty, and an inverter with 5 years warranty. StarTime Solar Home Solution is efficient, reliable, and safe to power essential appliances, complete home lighting, refrigerators, air conditioners, washing machines, microwaves, iron box, instant shower, and entertainment devices, television, computers, Wi-Fi, and so much more. Say yes to reduced electricity bills and call us today on 0719 077 777 and get started on your green energy journey today. StarTime Solar. Power your life.
Where have you heard about moringaschool.com?
Moringaschool.com. Hapo ndio future tech iko boss.
Kenya's top software engineers, data analysts, cybersecurity pros, and UI UX design ninjas wanatoka Moringa.
Hey, na unasema hauna degree? No stress. Whether you are looking to upskill, stuck in a boring job, ama you are starting from zero, Moringa's got your back, man.
Visit moringaschool.com, where anyone can create their future.
The weather with Spice FM.
Partly sunny conditions in Nairobi this morning, 16 degrees, and it is 16 and sunny in Nakuru, 16 and sunny into Nyeri. It's 13 and sunny in Eldoret, while looking into cloudy conditions for some parts of Mombasa at 25. It's also sunny at 27 in Malindi, 20 and sunny in Kisumu, with sunny conditions at 16 into Kakamega. Light rain now in Kampala, and Dar es Salaam is sunny at 24. 12 degrees and partly sunny into Johannesburg, while at 28 it is sunny in Mogadishu, 18 and sunny into Addis Ababa, and Lagos at 27 is cloudy, with cloudy conditions at 23 in Kinshasa. Friday morning, not too crazy, but still taking a look at what traffic looks like right about now. Let's take a look at the Thika Superhighway, where there was some traffic as you come into the Pangani underpass, but it's really just around Survey where your service lanes come to an end. Ngong Road coming in from Karen, and then also from Naivasha Road on the other side is actually a little bit busy as you get out towards Nairobi Funeral Home. At the roundabout, coming in from Valley Road, coming in from Rilo Dingaway and Ngong Road itself, it's busy here, and also busy as we get out to the city. As you come off of Jogo Road heading out towards Landis, it's also going to be busy for most parts of it, and the Eastern Bypass is clogged up with traffic this morning. Very heavy as you get towards North Airport Road, and then going towards that Cabanas interchange. It's doing the business right about now. We're going to keep an eye on all of this and hope to keep things moving. How about we talk and walk each other through it? Spice FM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
At 24 minutes to 8 o'clock on the Situation Room, Healthy Friday at this hour. We are looking into a beckoning array of hope with Dr. Kireki Omanwa. And we are looking at fibroids, the cases that very, very many women and many families go through. Is surgery always the solution towards this? We've heard many things, herbal remedies, take something to shrink the size and then you could eventually pass them out, things like that. Treatment options, what are those?
Thank you. Quite a number of treatment options. And the treatment options will depend on, number one, the patient. It will depend on the symptoms. It will depend on the sizes of the fibroids and on the location. There are instances where we don't do anything. We say, yes, there are fibroids. They are not affecting you. Your periods are regular. You don't need to do anything. Let's observe them every 6 months or so. Do a scan and see whether the size has increased, and then maybe review the options on the table. There are conservative methods of treatment. So, for example, the patient just complains about heavy periods, clotty periods, and then you notice that the fibroid is a small submucosal fibroid. You can actually use what you call an intrauterine contraceptive device, which has a hormone, and this hormone is released every day, small amount of hormone, which works on the lining of the womb, and sometimes it leads to a decrease in that size of a small submucosal fibroid. If the patient has the big fibroids and she wants us to conserve the uterus, then there are surgical options. Even before we go there, if the patient doesn't want to have surgery done, but she has serious symptoms, there are other medical methods of managing this. We can give her what you call hematinics, that is blood boosters, as it were. If she is experiencing pain, we can give her painkillers, analgesics, and we can also use contraceptive methods. Combined oral contraceptive pills can also help, especially with the heavy periods and so on. Now, if these methods fail and we have tried everything, you say, look, we think that another approach could be better, and then we can consider surgical methods. The most common surgical method that all of us who are obstetricians and gynecologists are trained in is what we call laparotomy. That is cutting open the abdomen. We cut through the several layers of tissue. We get to the fibroid, and then we slice it off, as it were, and suture the place where the fibroids were. This, every obstetrician and gynecologist can be able to do that. The other option is what you call laparoscopic surgery. What does that basically mean? This is basically minimal invasive surgery, where we make small incisions on the abdomen, maybe 3 or 4 of them, and we go in with instruments, and as we are operating, we are actually watching what we are doing on a screen. Not everybody is able to do this because it requires extra training, and the learning curve can also be quite steep, but it is available in Kenya. We have another method which is also invasive, and that is what you call uterine artery embolization, whereby we work with other doctors, other specialists, and we go through one of the vessels in the thigh, and they block blood supply through the uterine artery. The uterine artery is the main blood supplier to the uterus, and the idea is once that blood supply has been blocked, the uterus will actually shrink because it will not have any blood going to it, and with time it will shrink. Now, the other methods which have been propagated, and we actually see them out there, is using herbal medication. I'm not against herbal medication, but the only problem with herbal medication is that, number one, we do not know what is in this herbal medication. We do not know the chemical composition. We do not know how it works, and we do not know the strength of what this herbal medication is. For example, they'll tell you, take this kibuyu and every day drink 1 cup or 1 glass of it. But cups and glasses are not equal in terms of capacity. So we actually not very sure how it works. And then we do not have enough evidence looking at it scientifically, whereby X number of women were treated with this herbal medicine compared to Y number of women who had something different or who had a placebo. And then of course we measure the sizes of these fibroids before the treatment, and and progressively, let's say after 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, and we have a control sort of study, and then we see if in X the fibroids actually shrunk or even disappeared as compared to Y, then of course we can recommend this herbal medication. Unfortunately, we don't have these kinds of studies at all. Even though, of course, ladies, as you said, ladies pass on information. I took this herbal medication and it really helped. It shrunk my fibroids and etc. Then we have something new which is in the market, and that is a non-invasive procedure, which is called HIFU. HIFU is basically high-intensity focused ultrasound. Ultrasound can be used for diagnostic purposes. For example, ultrasound, these are waves. And when you say ultra, it means it's high frequency. And they are, I may not be very clear about the physics of it. These waves are harnessed. And for example, if you're expectant or if you have some issues with your abdomen, you go to a doctor, you go to a radiologist, and they will, sometimes they'll ask you to drink a lot of water for the women, and they will take an instrument and put it on your abdomen and see what is happening with the womb or with the pelvis for that matter, or even with the abdomen itself. These, they are not radioactive. So ultrasound is used for diagnosis, and it can also be harnessed and used for treatment. In this case, when you're talking about fibroids, instead, when you're using it for diagnosis, the waves are actually dispersed, as it were, before they get to once they get to the target organ, and then they are reflected back to this the instrument, the equipment, which takes these waves back and forms them through the physics and mathematics. It creates an image which we can actually see on a screen, and we can be able to diagnose what is happening. Now, in HIFU, it's the other way around. These waves, instead of them being dispersed, they're actually focused. If you can imagine, when we used to use a magnifying, is it a focusing, was it called a magnifying glass? Magnifying glass. So the waves from the sun are actually focused to a certain point, and if you put a pepper under it, because of that focus, it actually burns it. So the idea, simplistically, is basically the same, that the ultrasound waves are actually focused, and as they are focused, they create energy, very high energy, heat which is anywhere between 60 to 100 degrees Celsius, and this energy now can actually be focused on the fibroids, wherever they are, and they are burned or they are ablated.
Do we have this treatment in Kenya?
Actually, yes, it is available. It is available. And I must say that Kenya has joined the elite group, as it were, because we have very few of these machines in Africa. The first machine was in Egypt, in Cairo. And then I think South Africa was number 2. Nigeria has 2 of them. Good morning, Do.
Yes, please. Thank
you. And then Tanzania has also one, and Kenya has one.
What are the likely chances that even after this treatment, the fibroids can recur?
Thank you. A very important question. Usually, when we go in and open the abdomen and remove these fibroids surgically, or even when we remove them, through laparoscopy, there are some micro or macro cells or tissues that we leave there. And unfortunately, we warn the patient that there is a possibility of these fibroids recurring, but we cannot tell when and how fast that can be. And we see patients who, after surgery, they come after 2 years, as if the fibroids are back. But the vast majority of them, they don't come back. Now, when we talk about HIFU, remember, it is using energy and it is burning the tissue. So the chances of them recurring is a lot less than if you're going to open.
Since you're talking about chances, what then does one do if one wants to seek a solution that offers permanency? Is it possible?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that it depends on what you want. If you want to get rid of the fibroids completely and you'll have no problems at all with the periods and so on, then the best option would be to remove the womb. Then that is permanent.
That's what you call hysterectomy.
Hysterectomy. But if you want to have a baby, if you want to carry yourself, because you can have a baby through somebody else, if you want to carry the baby yourself, then obviously that is not an option. But this new method, I think, offers a better chance of them not recurring. It doesn't mean that it reduces them completely to zero, but remember that we are burning this tissue as opposed to surgery where we are removing, and the chances of leaving some tissue there, which later on, under the influence of estrogen, will grow again, is a lot higher.
Okay. You've mentioned something to do with 70% of African women highly likely to have fibroids.
Yes.
Then we come to the issue of data in the country, if that is there.
Yes.
And if at all the country is having a conversation, bearing in fact the 70%, having a conversation on policies around treatment of fibroids in the country.
Correct. I'll look at it in two ways. Are we having a direct conversation about how we deal with fibroids and what we are doing directly? Not really, because I think sometimes when you look at let me put it in terms of priority. Let me put it that way. When you look at, for example, the number of women who are dying because of bleeding during pregnancy or just after delivery, it's a bigger pressing problem than the fibroids. And remember, quite a good percentage of these women who have fibroids are actually asymptomatic as compared to these emergencies which we have to deal with. So I think the conversation, the fulcrum is more towards how do we stop these women from dying and the children as well, the newborns, as opposed to how do we solve this issue of a large percentage of women having asymptomatic fibroids. So I think when you put that on a balance, I think the scales are tipped towards solving these emergencies than looking at the fibroids.
By and large, we are informed that fibroids are non-cancerous.
Yes, even though I
can see you're going to answer what I was going to ask. So please continue.
Even though a very small percentage, according to literature, they say about 0.1 to 0.4% can actually be cancerous. Then how do we then say these ones can be cancerous and these ones are strictly benign, as it were? The history is very important and it is cardinal when it comes to us thinking about this. When a patient comes and says, I've had something is growing here, and it started small, and then after a month from that maybe 2-3 centimeters, it's going to 10 centimeters in a very short period of time, then we are highly suspicious that this can actually be what you call a sarcoma, which can happen from fibroids. But by and large, most of them, 99.something%, are benign.
Okay. Is there a link between contraception that's used, which is hormonal based, and the prevalence of fibroids? Is there a connection between the two?
There's no cause effect, as it were.
Okay.
Because I remember, as I said, one of the methods of treatment is actually using combined oral contraceptive pills. So there is no connection that if you use contraceptive pills, then you are going to have fibroids.
Okay.
No.
Okay,
No.
so we're seeing a lot of questions coming in from folks who are tuned in, and I guess we can go through some of them because I think it's important to do.
Yes.
One of those questions is the herbal medication, of which you've kind of gone through, and that there are folks who are swearing by it, that you can use herbal medication and you find that the fibroids don't really bother you, or they can shrink in size, along those lines. Is it so? Has it gone through the proper channels in terms of then guidelines and standardization to say that you can actually use this, number one, and can you get it over the counter, or must you have gone through the diagnosing process?
I think that is a very important question, because when you look at some of the medications, or even a large percentage of the medications that we use are actually originally were plant-based. When you look at quinine, for example, even when you look at most of the medications that we use for chemotherapy, originally the origin is herbs or plants, for that matter. But what we are saying is, even though they were from herbs, they went through rigorous testing.
Yeah.
We found out what is actually this element which is active, and then how does it act, where does it act, and what is the mechanism of action that actually leads to stopping, for example, stopping malaria, or stopping even a headache, for example. When you look at paracetamol, you look at aspirin, and so on. I'm not negating that herbal medication does not work. I'm not negating that. But what we are saying is that, yes, in as much as this herbal medication does work, do we know exactly what is in this herbal medication? Have we identified the chemical component that actually makes it work? And if we have identified it, what is the mechanism of action? For example, if you take most of the time, you take a medication, they say this medication, it's best absorbed if you use it orally, if you use as an injection, or if you use it subcutaneously. Why? Because it has been studied and it has been noted that this is the best method of transport, number one. Number two, when it gets to the body, where does it go to?
Right.
How does it get to the target organ? And when it gets to the target organ, what particular protein or whatever it is does it affect, such that once you use it, it will actually alleviate the problem that we are trying to solve? We don't have this information.
Yeah.
So in as much as, yes, I have nothing against herbal medication, but we do not have detailed scientific information which can actually help us and say, today if you're going to take 1 cup, and then we have to quantify what type of cup. Is it 150 milliliters, or is it 200 milliliters? That sort of thing. So if you take 100 milliliters of this, it has an equivalent of X milligrams, and this will work in this way. So before we get that data, it is difficult to say that yes, this we can actually prescribe this, as you get a prescription, or you can actually buy it over the counter.
Okay.
But I'm not saying that herbal medication doesn't work. We need rigorous data, and we need to find out the mechanism of action and the point of actions.
Okay.
Perhaps that should be a national conversation that the government should pick up, because then again, it is what many also consider to be part of the solution.
Absolutely.
But as we talk about that, treating fibroids is key, especially when it comes to early detection and intervention, to be able to deal with that. So how should we push that information? Because then again, one would still stick on what they're being told, or wait until that point where they are in extreme pain that they come to see doctors. How do we change that such that they seek assistance early enough?
I think that is health-seeking behavior. Normally, I don't know whether it's only Kenyans, but we rarely go to the doctor for regular checkups. If I are Africans,
male Africans,
especially. I mean, we take our cars to the garage, and over the weekend they have to be polished and they look sharp and whatever. But when we talk about now, can you please go and have your blood checked? Can you have your prostate, checked? And it is a no. It's a no-go area. So when you talk about So when you talk about now, how do we now start, diagnosing these fibroids early enough? It comes back to health-seeking behavior. We should have our checkups, once every year, once every 2 years. Even for example with cervical cancer, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Women don't come for their regular annual checkups even after 2-3 years, and so on. And the effect is what we have. So health-seeking behavior, I think here is basic.
So a situation, a woman has fibroids, those have been established, not ready to go under the knife, and she gets pregnant.
Yes.
So baby and fibroid operating in the same space.
Tricky, quite tricky.
But it has happened.
It does happen.
What would you say?
Number one, we need to follow up this patient very, very carefully, because remember, during pregnancy, the body produces a lot of estrogen. And remember, we talked about estrogen being the quote-unquote the feeder or the food of fibroids. That is number one. Number two, as the baby is in the womb, there's a lot of blood which flows into the womb, and the fibroid will also take advantage of that, and they will grow exponentially. So this baby and the fibroid or fibroids will grow. Normally during pregnancy, we don't do anything about the fibroids, because if you were to touch that fibroid, most probably you'd leave that patient on the table because of the excessive bleeding that would occur. So we leave, as the Bible say, the wheat and the tares will grow together until judgment day, as it were. So when the delivery time comes, that is when we need to make a decision. Because if these fibroids are big, or if it's a big fibroid, it will affect the mechanism of contraction of the uterus. So it may be difficult for this patient to deliver naturally.
Yes.
So we have to think and plan how to deliver her by cesarean section. And then even during the cesarean section, we also have to have a plan B or even a plan C. Say, for example, if this fibroid is actually where we are supposed to cut, what are we going to do?
Yes.
So we have to have a plan B. Do we cut, vertically instead of transverse, and so on? So these are the things which we have to deal with. But this patient has to be taken very good care of. That is number one. Number two, remember again, as the fibroid and the baby are growing, the uterus is expanding very rapidly.
Yeah.
It may reach a place whereby the uterus starts contracting prematurely because of the fibroid. So again, medications which will try to quieten the uterus in order for it not to start, contracting prematurely. And once we have delivered her, rule of thumb is not to touch the fibroid during cesarean section. However, sometimes you may remove it if it has a stem and is pedunculated, and it is safe for the patient. We can actually remove it, but rule of thumb is don't touch until delivery. Then we reassess once the patient has recovered.
So final question for you, Doc, this morning is that, it's one that has plagued many a woman over time, but are you now as medical practitioners, obs and gynae, now comfortable with the treatment, with the management of fibroids? Now we don't know what causes it, so you can't get rid of it from that aspect.
Yes,
they're going to happen so long as there's estrogen.
Yes,
we can't do anything about that because it comes with the package, right?
Yes.
But are you saying that now we're living in a space where we can handle or manage?
Exactly so. We have quite a lot of options on the table, starting from conservative, medications. We have, hormones which we can use. We have operative, surgeries which we can do. And then, of course, we have now this new kid on the block, which is non-invasive. You have, it is done in one day, and the patient goes home very comfortable, in the sense that the patient doesn't have to go to theater, doesn't have to have anesthesia per se, that one of deep anesthesia. And that the issue that the comfort about this is that the patient can go home in the evening, go back to her family, and so on. And the recovery period is also shorter, and so on and so forth. So yes, we are comfortable. Now, something which I want to underline here is that not all the patients will be, will qualify for all the methods.
Yeah.
There are patients who will qualify for this method, and other patients will qualify for other method. That is number one. Number two, the issue of insurance comes in, and also the issue of the economic side of things. How are we going to pay for this? That also does play a huge role, and I think here the insurance companies and SHA also can come on board and help these patients to help them, as it were.
Always good to get insights and to go deeper into some of these things, as opposed to just hearing them surface level. Good for us to share this information.
Absolutely.
And we're glad that you've done so brilliantly. Thank you very much. Dr. Kireki Omanwa is the president of the Kenya Obstetrical and Gynecological Society, has been with us this morning, giving a ray of hope towards the issue of fibroids. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for inviting me to the studio.
Good morning. 8:01.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. Former Interior CS Fred Matiang'i is expected in Kisii and Nyamira counties today as part of his Meet the People tour ahead of an anticipated declaration for his presidential bid. Matiang'i, who's looking to solidify his influence in the Gusii region, arrived in the country from the US a week ago. He'll be accompanied by Kisii Governor Simba Arati, Senator Richard Onyonka, among other leaders. Medics have called on the government to prioritize their welfare as Kenya marked the 60th Labour Day celebrations on Thursday. In a statement, Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union warned that continued neglect of doctors' rights threatens the country's health system. KMPDU Secretary General Dr. Davji Atela said the union remains steadfast in its fight for a healthcare system that values its workers and delivers quality care to all Kenyans. This comes amid concerns that several county governments are yet to implement CBS they signed with the union. All police officers stationed at the Angata Barikoi police station in Transmara, Narok County have been transferred following the death of 6 people during violent protests during violent clashes between residents and the police on Monday. Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen, who confirmed the development, said investigations into the incident were ongoing.
We have already all those transfers that the IG ordered were done immediately. In addition, my office, in consultation with the relevant institutions, have also transferred the Deputy County Commissioner. So we have done all those transfers in the best interest of the citizens and the officers, because transferring them also gives us an opportunity to have an impartial investigations.
Murkomen, who spoke when he visited police officers who were injured in the line of duty, called on Kenyans to support the officers as they discharge their duties.
The reason why our country is peaceful is because somebody somewhere is making a sacrifice. And that sacrifice is manifested in the injuries and the suffering they go through when they sometimes come to contact with the enemy in different parts of this country and the world. I remind citizens of this country to continue praying for our police officers, to continue supporting them wherever they are. Whenever you come into contact with a police officer, it's important to demonstrate through acts of sacrifice and patriotism our love for them.
Workers in both the public and private sectors will now enjoy tax exemptions on pension and gratuity payments. President William Ruto made the announcement during the 60th Labour Day celebrations at Uhuru Gardens here in Nairobi. President William Ruto, who made the announcement during the 60th Labour Day celebrations at Uhuru Gardens here in Nairobi, said the move is part of efforts to boost the financial stability of pensioners.
All pensions and gratuity payments for both the public and private sector will now be tax exempt. This reform is a recognition of the service and sacrifice of our senior citizens and workers, and a step towards ensuring that retirement is met with dignity, not stress.
To further enhance efficiency and employee benefits, employers will now be required to apply eligible tax reliefs and exemptions directly when calculating pay as you earn rather than leaving workers to claim them from KRA. Jill Sobo, a groundbreaking American songwriter whose hit I Kissed a Girl is widely considered the first song with openly gay themes to crack the Billboard Top 20, has died in a house fire in the U.S. city of Minneapolis, her publicist has said. Sobo, whose satirical anthem Supermodel featured in the 1995 coming-of-age film Clueless, was 66. She'd been due to perform today in her home city of Denver to showcase songs from her autobiographical stage musical. A free gathering will now take place in her honor. That's the news wire. I'm Edwin Lisamir.
.5 Spice FM Kisumu. Traffic.
Okay, this morning traffic on the Eastern Bypass is extremely heavy, and it's going towards North Airport Road. It's bumper to bumper through and through. As then you get to the Cabanas interchange, that's going to change a little bit here and there. There's traffic coming in on Outer Ring, and it's going to take you through towards North Airport Road. On the Thika Superhighway, coming in from Garden City, not too bad, but then you're going to get towards Survey where your service lanes come to an end, and there'll be quite some traffic here. Also on Kiambu Road, it's busy. It's very busy on Limuru Road, and you'll find a clog up of traffic as you come by United Nations Avenue. Lower Kabete towards Spring Valley, we'll see a beehive of activity right around now. And also on Wayaki Way, we'll see some movement. Inbound traffic from James Gishuru is doing quite the thing. In and outbound over the drift as you get towards Wayaki Way is also pretty busy. So we are in traffic hour. Let's see what happens as we get through it this Friday morning. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It is 8 minutes after 8 o'clock. Good morning, and this is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation, and we're getting into the weekend, and kids have just gone back to school, and it's still back to school season for quite a number. You'll still see folks making those lines, trying to get the last minute things that they need to send off to school, and those students who've already gone back to school will probably be receiving packages as they do. So why am I telling you this? Well, because you have got to make Naivas your home of deals. It is already the home of deals, so you need to walk in the door. Naivas has walked through with Kenyans through celebrations. We've just come off of one of Easter and before that Ramadan, and now as students gear up for term 2, the longest term of the year, we're looking at about 14 weeks to 16 weeks. We're right there with you as well, so you're going to need quite a lot getting into school, aren't you? So as you prepare your children for the new school term, some of you already have, don't cut corners on their shopping, right? This basket can stretch. Get fully loaded at your Naivas Kiloko near you and make every item count. Kijaze, Kikapu, Kibonge with Naivas. Every day there are unbeatable discounts, there are low prices, and there's a full range of back to school essentials all in one place under one roof, so you can make this season a breeze, actually make it easier, and turn you into the hero they see you as for walking with them on this educational journey. Do it today. Do it at Naivas. Jaze, Kijaze, Kikapu, Kibonge. Right. So we'll be having a conversation in a short while about new leadership. A new leadership has taken place in one of your counties after there was an impeachment of the governor. And the chief of staff for the county government of Meru is Dr. Julius Mbijiwe. He's going to join us in a few minutes, and we'll be talking about Meru County under new leadership. We'll look at lessons learned and then what happens later as a blueprint for anybody else who might have ideas. We'll talk about that in a short while when he comes. So we're going to look at a couple of the stories that actually did make the headlines today. Before he does that, The storm that we see around the MPs is still an issue that we need to look at. And we're asking a very simple question. Why is everybody, CT, so angry?
Why is everybody so angry? My goodness, I'm spoiled for choices. Life is hard. And every day the citizenry wake up, it is harder. People lose jobs, workplaces closing down, businesses downsizing, some shutting down altogether. It isn't a pretty picture. It's not a pretty picture at all. So, when a problem situation like the one I've described persists, the people have a choice as to the emotions that they would like to embrace: despondency, despair, and sometimes it grows into anger because you feel that the matters around you have overtaken you and there's nothing you can do about it. So you react angrily. You are not able to do so many things. There are people who have patients who are sick. They have a problem. You had a job, you now don't have a job, so which means you don't have money. You can't meet basic needs for your family. The things that you thought you could do with ease, you cannot do. You have every reason to be angry.
But even as you find every reason to be angry, if you just sit back and look at it in terms of how this should be addressed, I mean, it takes, one would say it's something that would take a conversation, a honest conversation, and you look at the intentionality being put in place in addressing issues that the citizenry are talking about. You know, when you talk about insecurity, what are security operators doing to ensure that? What are those with delegated responsibilities ensuring that these issues the citizenry are raising are actually addressed and that we see the intent to have them sorted out? But when they're being dismissed, the citizens have no option but to be angry to those they have donated the powers to.
Well, I mean, for sure. And then one has to ask the question in terms of what happens when our security is concerned. That why do we see that there is such vim and vigor to deal with particular security issues depending on who has been affected?
Yes.
And you want to ask the question that, are we really safe? What will guarantee that I will be driving down Gong Road one day and somebody's not going to open fire on me or on you? Or that you will walk somewhere and that something will not happen to you. But beyond that, that the security agencies, who, by the way, are tasked with the responsibility of safeguarding citizenry within the boundaries of Kenya, we're talking about that particular security agency. How can we be sure that they will actually do that? Or if something does happen, how can we be sure that these security agencies will then take on the responsibility of finding out what happened? And we have to ask the overarching question today of whether we are safe. Are we safe when it comes to this? That can you be sure that, because look, the fellas who did this, who we're talking about this slain member of parliament, the fellas who did this in that moment, who knows what they were thinking? Who we don't know. There's wild conjecture about what possibly could have happened. But in that moment, doing that, they believe that they could get off on this motorcycle or whatever it was and take off and run away. And they're somewhere today, probably listening to this conversation or any others that have taken place. What do they know? That nobody's going to know the better and nobody will find them. Why do you think they think that? Because it is not the first time something like this has happened. And it is not the first time that will be that somebody will then be able to take off. So are we really safe when it comes to security in the day? We just had a news clip of the Cabinet Secretary for Interior saying that Kenya is now a safe country and we are thriving and everything is okay. Is it really? Can you be guaranteed that you will not be, number one, abducted, kidnapped or shot in the head by police officers when you're trying to secure your land? By police officers when you're trying to secure your land, shot in the head, whether you're an 8-year-old girl or whether you're just a completed high school student or whether you're one who's just started university. That's the profile of 3 out of the 6 people who died. By the way, I'm not making it up. These are actually people who were killed on Monday by security agencies. So the question is here, are we actually in a safe place where you can say, well, walking down the street, nobody's going to mug me, kidnap me or kill me?
Let me turn this thing on its head a little bit and ask the question. if you work for our security organs and you feel that you are actually not safe among the citizenry, or as a citizen who happens to be someone who works within the security organs of the nation, and all these problems that we say citizens have are members of the security organs included? Yes, they are included. The same, they buy from the same shops. Everything that we have, they have, in terms of needs, in terms of families. Now tell me, if you have this situation where, despite years and years of seeking to have your living conditions changed, your working conditions changed, to actually have a situation where you are enabled to do your job as you should, have you ever noticed the number of police officers who walk with shoes which they clearly bought for themselves?
Yes.
Not standard issue. Okay? The places they live in and so forth. Now, take this group of people who have their own personal issues and they have the power of violence, and then put them in a volatile situation. If they're under pressure, you've actually given them more pressure.
More pressure.
What do you think is going to happen? And then let me take that thing to a possible further conclusion. When the citizenry understand that this is what they can expect, how do you think they are going to react going forward when there's a situation where there are policemen in large numbers, armed, and they have citizens who have an issue they want to present? We are slowly but certainly fomenting a volatile situation.
It has already begun.
It has, yeah.
What story did we see just coming out yesterday? A vehicle rolled over. There's a policeman, a police officer in that vehicle who clearly needed help to be able to get out. What did the people tell him? Gisort, my friend, essentially. Sort out yourself. Mituzoya. If you live or die tomorrow, we don't care, because you have shown us it may not have been you, but the body that you represent have basically shown us that you can take us out. And unfortunately, CT, there are too many examples of that same thing. Too many examples whereby just on Monday night, remember the profile that I shared of 3 people out of the 6 who died? Tell me what an 8-year-old girl who was shot in the head.
In the
head would have done, that you will now tell me that she posed a threat or that she was disrespecting the security agency. Tell me how. Tell me how.
How someone is shot from the back is posing a security threat to an officer. Shot from the back. Clearly, he was running away. It's the same incident that happened in Parliament, and people are asking the difficult questions.
People were leaving Parliament on the day when the number of deaths that happened. They were leaving Parliament.
They were
running out of Parliament, compound. And this happened. So, I have never believed that 2 wrongs make a right. Neither have I ever believed that there's justification for violence. Neither have I ever believed that there's justification for meeting harm on another
human being.
I find it difficult to reconcile. However, I find it increasingly easier to reconcile with reasoning. When somebody says, you know what, we have seen too many an example whereby you've not been able to guarantee our safety. If anything, you've been agents on that harm on us.
Yes.
Whereby there should be a symbiotic relationship. Somebody watching a video whereby a police officer in another jurisdiction, and I wouldn't say that because I have actually had I've seen incidences of people have very, very good conversations with the police. Somebody's willing to help you out. Somebody's car stops on the side of the road. You even see police helping to push the thing, kind of thing. There's that relationship. But it just takes one incident for somebody to say, oh, hang on a minute. All I need to do is open my mouth and somebody's going to shoot me in the head. Should we be having that kind of relationship whereby the folks who are supposed to guarantee and secure your safety cannot or will not?
You see, when a certain narrative then becomes preeminent and it takes hold of the conversation on the relationships that we have with the security forces are an arm of government.
Yes.
It also bespeaks of the sentiment that the citizenry have towards their government.
Absolutely.
That disconnect is, the schism is growing.
You see, CT, when you talk about security officers in this country and the government that is, remember this is a group of individuals who are minority in the country. Understand what I mean? And here's a question where, as citizenry complain and ask, are we safe and secure in this country under the minority? Let's look at it from the flip side of things. Do police officers in this country today, with all that is happening, feel as though they are safe among the citizenry? And if they feel the contrary, that they are not, why is that the case? It's because they have created an environment where the citizens themselves do not trust that police officers will protect them and take care of them. So it is a situation where both sides feel insecure, but one has been perpetrated by constant abuse of the powers given to them.
You know what is strange about this is that if this country didn't have a functioning police service, the chaos we would see would be in fact, it would be globe-trotting insecurity. The security apparatus actually does work. You do not need scores of policemen to shoot at people for you to understand. You just need one person.
One.
And suddenly the entire service has been tarred with that brush. Just one.
Yeah.
Because these deaths that we spoke of in Narok, they were needless.
Completely.
They were absolutely needless. You know, these things arose in an earlier time, and that's where community policing and so forth came in, to try and see how best you can improve the relationship that the citizenry have with the citizens. How the police service is used by those who are in power speaks to the situation we're talking about. Police don't order themselves to go and to a place to quiet. They do not. They are given instructions. Yes.
So thank you very much for that. See, so who are the police for in Kenya?
It's them. They're for us.
It's for us.
It's for the people.
Yeah, for the people.
Isn't it?
Yes.
But they act on orders. Whether it is an order to do something which would benefit people,
or not do something,
or to do something which would be to the harm of people.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So they act under order, regardless. You won't just have a police officer or folks on the beat doing something because they were bored
you
one
have
Tuesday
to
afternoon.
Deployed.
Yes.
And wherever you see them, they have been deployed to perform a certain service.
Now,
that's why they're there.
In this arena or in this situation of this deployment, do police officers have still a functioning conscience, mind of their own?
They do.
They do. They can actually say, well, we've been given this order, but in this place we've seen that maybe this wouldn't quite work. We shouldn't do this.
That room isn't in plenty.
It's not a lot, yeah?
No,
Usually they
in,
will
in
act.
the disciplined forces, you are given instructions, you obey.
Follow. Okay.
Yes.
Now, in the event that something was happening whereby it was clear what the mood was, everybody and their uncle in June 2024 knew why these protests were taking place. You can't pretend like you didn't know. It was, everybody knew. In Kenya, in the region, the world. And when these protests were taking place on the street, mind you, not all the killings that happened in Parliament.
No.
Okay?
No.
A number of them happened in other places where people were peacefully protesting in the streets. We saw this happen. Under what order would it be that somebody would say, nah, number one, use live ammunition, number two, take them out if you have the opportunity, and then go about your business as usual? Remember the first question I asked? Who are the police for?
The people.
If the police are for the people, under what order would it then be that somebody would say, take them out, use live ammunition, knowing that you're supposed to be
for the people,
protecting the people?
You know, when you look at the number of policemen whom we've seen on the footage, and look at the number, some of them had batons or
tear gas
and some interesting looking sticks and so forth, but many also had guns. Consider for a second, if even 5 policemen fired into a crowd, would we not have seen very many more people dying?
Yes, a bullet moves faster than ran.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, in the cases that we've seen, if we go by the documentary, there was one individual who was singled out.
Yes.
In each of these incidences, or even the deaths that occurred before people went to Parliament, it was an individual who was killed. It wasn't a hail of bullets.
Yeah.
We're told it was a shot.
It was a shot, yes.
Now, Who put that person in that place? I recall during those demonstrations on the expressway, witnessing, because the traffic slowed down to observe, there was a police officer in these ninja garments that they wear, okay, positioned on top of the aiming at the crowd.
Yeah.
Okay. So the question I ask is, and this one I need because I need to understand it. What is the logic behind shooting into a crowd that is demonstrating peacefully? What is that logic?
From a vantage point.
Yes. Essentially, you are targeting, you want to see who it is you want to shoot.
Yeah.
Why do these people need to be not shot at? Shot. Why? Okay, let's say shot at. Why? What's this logic? The demonstrations for the bulk of that period were very peaceful.
Yes, they were.
They were.
They were peaceful and then they were not. And when they were not, it was clear that those who had begun demonstrating were not the ones who were breaking into shops, looting. Because, man, days we saw people just walking about, going about their business.
So now, so if you want to connect, CT, if we want to ask the question about whether people are actually safe, and this is something that we want you to help us to answer later, because, let's just have this conversation, all of us, and let's be very, very open and honest about this. That if you're asking the question about whether you feel safe in the hands of the very agencies that are supposed to make you feel safe, if you feel that you are, we want to hear and see how that actually does open up. Now, in the event, CT, that something were to happen, then many would ask the question, okay, let's say that 1, 2, 3 police officers took shots at Kenyans and people were killed. If truly that this service is for the people, the very first thing you would have done was to ask questions about who shot, under what circumstances did they shoot, and let's sit down and have a conversation.
Yes.
Remember George Floyd?
Yes.
After his death, it didn't take 24 hours for there to be an identification of which police officer was the one who was sat on his neck.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't take 24 hours for them to find out who he was, where he had been stationed, who his grandmother was, and what was the name of their pet cat when he was growing up.
Yeah.
They knew everything
Yeah.
in a very short period of time because they wanted to. They realized that here we cannot play around with this thing, and somebody has to pay. Is it the same Kenyans who saw, look man, we saw the pictures. Is it the same Kenyans for whom we saw blood, guts and brains on the street?
Yeah.
That you will now come and tell them that within 24 hours you've already set up another investigation into what happened to someone who passed away on a Tuesday night, on a Wednesday night, but it's been a year and you've not asked questions about who killed Kenyans on the streets. It's been 3 days after Monday night when 6 people died at the hands of police and nobody has told us who shot these Kenyans.
We've been told people were transferred.
Yeah.
Do you, honestly, with my full chest and full open questioning, do you really expect Kenyans? Do you really expect Kenyans to be comfortable with that situation and say, yes, we are safe? Do you? This is not about feeling remorse for somebody who's passed. No.
It's difficult for any Kenyan right now to tell you that they feel safe under the leadership and the police in this country at the moment. Because it's 365 days, man. There is no response. We only see response from IPOA after that documentary saying apparently we've recorded 60 deaths, 22 have been confirmed, files have been opened. But do we need all these years? Because basic, from my layman understanding of all this, police were deployed. They were deployed with their weapons. We know how many bullets they were given. All those things are recorded down. By the time they are coming back to the stations, they returned their guns. They returned them with the number of bullets that were inside. Have we taken record of why did you release this bullet? What were the circumstances? Have we taken those bullets through ballistics? Have we taken bullets from Kenyans who were shot for us to say, we are doing ABCD, these are the rifles, these are the police officers, and this is the report? Because as CT says, police and DCI do investigations, reports are there, but implementation of this report remains what? Silent. But when it comes to someone who's considered to be a prominent individual in the country, who has been donated powers by the citizens of this republic, they are killed. We see what is done. Committees are formed, and even the president addresses himself to say, let investigations be launched immediately and let's arrive at the root cause of the same. But the same president in June said what? Those were treasonous individuals who are out there to disrupt the peace of the country. Connect the two, please.
I said, leave June. Let's say June 2024 was far, Abi. It's far. It's been a year. Okay. Monday in Transmara,
Narok.
Innocent people were killed because they were defending the land upon which they've grown up and lived on. And even the people who were killed, we will say that they were the aggressors in any way, shape or form. Monday. Have you heard beyond the IG of police Kanja and the DCI boss Amin sitting in a baraza on Tuesday morning? Did you hear that they said they've identified the police officer and now we are bringing him to court? Beyond Senator Aaron Chariot saying that you must bring these people to book. Beyond that, have you heard that somebody was arrested? Have you heard that somebody was asked questions about what they did? All they did was they took them and then they moved them. It's like cards. Yeah. Do you know what? You know when they shuffle cards in a deck? You know you don't get new cards?
Yes.
It's the same cards that you're shuffling that deck and you're playing your hand with the same cards. What am I saying? You take the same cop who blew the head off of an 8-year-old girl and you take them somewhere else. They're taking that and they're transferring. You're not transferring the cop. You're transferring the bad manners.
Yeah. Let me add a little salt to this particular brew. The people who have this land. This story goes back to 1953, 1954.
Yes.
It's not yesterday's story. The ownership of that land was titled. There are stories about the issues of titles, the cancellation of titles, and occupation of that land. As I said, they are stories. If indeed those titles were revoked, if indeed, then the National Land Commission has to be brought into the spotlight, because in the absence of the issue of that title and the ownership being a matter of concern, there would have been no need for confrontation, and no one needed to have been shot at, no one would need to have died, and that whole slew of very high-ranking officials would not have needed to go to Transmara to say whatever it is they did. And the CS for Interior would not be saying the things he is saying now, if that man could just keep quiet sometimes. The things, what on earth? We have a serious situation, and there are very many moving parts. Title deeds.
City, title deeds. And even the residents themselves say there is a court order that has stopped further demarcation of that land. Yet we have government agencies and surveyors going to survey that land and further demarcate that land against what? The court orders. And they are there with police officers who are supposed to enforce the court order.
So what are we dealing with? What are we dealing with?
A government that does not respect the law, I'm sorry to say. Because surveyors are from the government. It's the government who deployed them. The police officers are not there to enforce the court order, but to disrespect the court order.
You know, a situation that in and of itself appears to be something that a conversation would resolve. But when you start looking at the details, as I said, there are so many moving parts. And you have to ask, surely, what on earth is going on here? What on earth? Assurances that you've transferred the officers so that you'll be enabled to actually have what? An investigation without interference. Okay, let me just ask the question. What exactly are we investigating? We do not know who did the shooting.
We do.
We do.
If we know the people who died, we do not know who actually did the shooting. The number of officers who went there are known. By name.
Yes.
By number. Everything about them is known. These are the people who are sent here.
Against CT, we know the rifles and the number of bullets they took.
Those things are logged.
Yes, they are. And you know who did.
Yes. So you know the person. There is nothing this is the beauty of being a layman. You can prescribe anything you want.
Yeah.
And if you're found to be wrong, you'll say, me, I'm a layman. I don't
understand it. Yeah.
I was speaking from my limited knowledge. It is a thorny issue that has to be handled very delicately. Mm-hmm. Very, very delicately. This isn't the time for some of those things that political individuals like saying. And you even ask, why on earth must they speak?
Yeah.
I do think that it is time to have a serious conversation, and there needs to be serious awareness about what the situation really is in terms of how Kenyans do feel, number one, about the security agencies placed with the responsibility to take care of them, and amongst them and between them and the political elite.
Yes.
You may sit here and think that everything is all rainbows and bunnies, but believe me, it is not. And if you don't start having those conversations now, like CT has said, and like you've said also, Dennis, if you don't start having those conversations, you'll get to a point whereby nobody's listening to anybody. And by the time people are making those sentiments on social media known, believe them, they are not bored. They are saying what they actually feel. Yeah. We'll hear from you. Do you think you're safe? Are we safe? Is a question in the hands of those who are supposed to keep you safe. It's 24 minutes to 9 o'clock. This conversation continues after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Where? Have you heard about moringaschool.com?
Moringaschool.com. Hapo ndio future tech iko boss.
Kenya's top software engineers, data analysts, cybersecurity pros, and UI UX design ninjas wanatoka Moringa.
Hey, na unasema hauna degree? No stress. Whether you are looking to upskill, stuck in a boring job, ama you are starting from zero, Moringa's got your back, man.
Visit moringaschool.com, where anyone can create their future.
This back to school season, Naivas is your home of deals.
Na tunarudi term 2 in style bila kufinya shopping list, kwa sababu Naivas Kiloko imesort uniforms, lunchbox goodies, stationery na school bags. Kila kitu ya back to school iko under one roof.
Furahia crazy discount na unbeatable daily prices kufanya back to school iwe shwari. Naivas, kijaze kikapu kibonge, always saving your money every day.
The weather with SpiceFM.
Partly cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning, and we will see then through Friday highs of 27. Looking into a cloudy Eldoret at 15, and we're also seeing cloudy Nyeri at 18 degrees, and also Nakuru at 20 degrees, going then towards highs of 26. It was a rainy morning in Mombasa, now at 25, cloudy conditions and a chance of rain coming back in later. It's partly sunny at 27, looking into Malindi. And as you look into Kisumu, 23 and mostly sunny, while Kakamega at 22 is partly sunny. It is cloudy in Kampala at 20, while Dar es Salaam at 25 is sunny. 12 degrees and cloudy into Johannesburg, while at 30 it is sunny in Mogadishu and sunny at 19 in Addis Ababa. Lagos is sunny at 26, while Kinshasa at 23 is cloudy. 17 degrees and mostly cloudy into Beijing, while at 15 it is sunny in Paris and cloudy at 16 in London, with cloudy conditions at 15 in New York.
Spice up your life.
Traffic, most parts of the city this morning, very, very busy on James Gishuru, crossing over towards Waiaki. We had seen some traffic that was starting to build on Magadi Road, but Langata Road looks good now as you connect with that, heading out towards the Nyayo Stadium roundabout and then into the CBD. What else are we looking at? The Eastern Bypass with quite some traffic as you get then towards North Airport Road, but we're not dealt with too much in terms of traffic this morning. We're just going to keep an eye on the little problem areas here and there, and we'll share SpiceFMKE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Are we safe? That's the question. 21 minutes to 9 o'clock, and we should have had the Chief of Staff for Merrill County join us, but unfortunately he's not been able to. However, this is a conversation that many are already having, and that we can continue to ask ourselves the question, whereby we can ask the question and say, are we safe? And our answer would be yes or no. We then need to look towards, so then what ought to be done about it? And we see that from the court, something is being kind of, you would get an idea that maybe something is done to point us in some kind of solution-oriented direction.
Yeah, and the court recently made a ruling, a decision that during protests that police officers should be in full uniform and should be able to be identified. But let's just go back to what we are signatories to also speak on the same. And this is the UN protocol on police officers while dealing with the protest. And the United Nations Model Protocol for Law Enforcement Officials emphasizes that officers managing peaceful protests must be clearly identifiable to uphold transparency and accountability. We are signatories to UN charters, and this is what they say. One begs to ask the question, during the June 25th protest in this country, we saw police officers not only clad in civilian attire, but they were masked. They were using vehicles that were not marked during the protests, which goes against the protocols and even what is written here. The reason why the court today is making decisions around that, because there is a feeling that the police might be taking advantage of being in civilian uniform to wreak havoc on the citizenry.
We do have plainclothes policemen. We've always had them. And if you look at the data gathering apparatus within the police service, they're plainclothes. Yeah. But even then, DCI officers tend to be plainclothed. We have plainclothes officers, that is something that is just a simple fact, and we've had them for as long as possible.
But during a protest, the court is saying that during a protest, police officers must be in uniform. You can't have non-uniformed officers during a protest because of this thing that we are seeing. And that it's very easy for somebody to say, well, the person was not in uniform, so we don't know
who they are.
Okay, why don't we look at the details of what exactly the court is saying?
Okay.
What they're saying on that subject?
Now, the ruling says police must wear official uniforms with visible name tags or identifiable service numbers, refrain from concealing their identities, including obscuring their faces, and avoid using unmarked vehicles or those without number plates during such operations. Now, this ruling was in response to concerns raised by the Law Society of Kenya regarding police conduct during the Finance Bill 2024 protest, where instances of officers in civilian clothes and concealed identities were reported. The court emphasized that visible identification is essential to uphold accountability and public trust in law enforcement.
So they are saying that if police are to be deployed in a situation where there's demonstration, they must all be clothed
in uniform.
Right. It won't happen.
Because remember, Rex Masai, who was shot, and if you look at the footage and the images that we received, he was shot by a uniformed police officer. Not uniformed, civilian police officer.
Well, then, do we know whether there's a police officer or not? You see, this is a problem.
Yes.
We don't know.
Yes.
Number one. Number two, protests around the world have always occurred. And when you see footage of people protesting, you will find, again, clothed policemen in uniform, intermingling, reacting, part of whatever it is that is going on. But is that to say that they do not have police officers in civilian clothes? Police officers who are gathering data, many of them will not be in police uniform.
Sasa tunasema msiende kwa protest. That's what the court is saying.
And I'm trying to tell you that won't happen. The court can scream until its face is yellow.
You see, it's because in other jurisdictions, fine, you'd find a police officer who's actually in civilian attire, but the vest they are wearing is actually written police.
I am trying to tell you this. What we are doing is not something that is of our invention. When you wish to get information from the public and you are in the security services, you don't always announce your presence by being seen in uniform. That is a process. among the people who were also protesting, there were very many people in our security service also protesting with the
citizenry.
Yes, there were. It's part of what they do.
Yes, so now we are saying, according to the court, should you choose to involve yourself in any activity that will meet violence upon somebody else, we can then arrest you. Because in that moment, you did not identify yourself as a security agent or officer, and because you were not wearing uniform or name tag. So if you perform those activities and people then identify you as the one who did, we will not hold you then as a police officer who was discharging your duty. We will arrest you.
All right.
And deal with you like Dennis Ndu or Charles.
Did the court quote relevant statutes that support this within our constitution?
I don't know if they quoted, but I'm asking,
it's Dennis who's on the dock now.
I'm reading reports. Continue, City. I will give you that
just
report.
Keep looking for it. The reason why I'm asking this is because somebody is going to come up and say the requirements of those of us who are in the police service, even according to our constitution, is as follows. I don't know what this follows is, but believe me, there'll be a counter to it to justify what it is that the court is saying they should not do. It is for this reason that people have appeals.
And you see what you're saying, CT? It is for this reason that the trust deficit is getting deeper and deeper. Because if somebody says this will not happen, or that the likelihood of this order being followed to a T is dropping tremendously, then one has to ask. Remember what you said about these police, they don't do anything. The police, not these police. The police don't do anything outside of orders.
No, they don't.
So somebody is asking, it's not just the guy who heads your garrison in the army or the guy who heads your service station who may be giving the order, that how much further up is this order coming? And that's what people want to ask, that even the court would pronounce itself on something, because what they're trying to do is safeguard the citizenry here. Or even if you have a situation where things have gone awry, can you then pinpoint the individual who did this and then let us bring this person to book? So, now, if we say that is not going to happen, then this ferments this distrust that we're talking about. You see, because people then will say, okay, then who are you really trying to protect?
So this is what Justice Mamuye said. The justice ruled that police officers must ensure full compliance with paragraph 10 of the 6th schedule of the National Police Service Act in terms of ensuring that all uniformed police officers or persons acting under direction, control, or in support of the National Police Service shall at all times affix a name tag or an identifiable service number in a clearly visible part of their uniform when engaging with, providing security for, or in any way dealing with any persons who is or planning on assembling, demonstrating, picketing, or petitioning, and they shall not remove or obscure the same.
Okay. CT is going to answer that question in a bit, but we're going to take some calls, because even in this case, CT, and to an extent, even when the police are identifiable and they have killed people, do you see that anything is being done to them? No, they are being transferred. We'll take your calls this morning. Are we safe? And are you holding on to that question, CT? We'll take the first call this morning from Dennis. He's tuned in from Bungoma. Dennis, good morning. Hello.
Yeah, good morning.
Hello, Dennis. Good morning. Tell us, are we safe?
Yeah, we are safe to my understanding, because when we see this thing going on, like for instance, the state of our nation, police officers are actually working so hard to stabilize the security in our nation, and many police officers are being killed, they are being ambushed by Al-Shabaabs or these gangs, they are being killed just because they want to make our state to be safe. There are these small scenarios whereby police officers engage in killing innocent citizens, but that doesn't mean that all police officers, they are rude.
Indeed.
They are rude. They are after killing innocent Kenyans. They are just a fraction of police officers who are just.
All right. I mean, we got cut off, but I hear what he's saying, that there's just a fraction. It's not everybody who is rogue. Let's take some more calls. Muturi Mambo is tuned in from Meru this morning. Good morning.
Hello.
Hello, Muturi. Good morning. Tell us what you think.
Morning. My thinking is that we need to be realistic, and I hope that we need to get to a level whereby a police officer and civilian, they should not seem like there is competition. And I believe that we need also to recognize that when we put like police officers like as trainers to the community, it becomes like there is competition. And I hope that we need to a level whereby we realize that the killing, to start with, killing is an illegal thing. It's actually, nobody should advocate want to die. And the only way we can save our country is agree that the democracy is, and the way we carry our democracy, we need to do it with a lot of respect also. Because a police officer is also a human being.
All right. Thank you very much for your thoughts, Mambo. Let's hear from some others this morning. David in Malaba, good morning. Hello, David. Good morning. All right. Let's hear from Rose. Rose is in Nakuru this morning. Rose, good morning.
Good morning, SpiceFM. How are you?
Very well, Rose. If you could turn down the volume on your radio, then we can hear you a little bit better. All right, go ahead. Tell us what your thoughts on whether we are safe.
Yes, we are safe.
Yes, go ahead,
yes,
Rose.
We are safe. We are safe. We are safe, because that is the question you have asked. Yes, we are safe. And one of the things that we really need to look at is to look at the police force as a big organization, which is divided in many parts of the country. And we must appreciate that not all our officers are rogue officers. We have so many who are good. We have so many who are disciplined. We have so many who are very human. And we also need to know that the police officers are human beings. They need not to be confronted. When we confront them, they have a right also to take care of their lives. But when there is a mistake that has been done, like in the Narok incident, we pray that the people that are concerned should look into that matter. But we cannot condemn the whole police service.
Thank you very much for your thoughts on that, Rose. Asante Sana.
Yes.
Let's hear from some others this morning. We are hearing from Victor, who is in Machakos. Victor, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. Tell us your thoughts on this, Victor.
Personally, I think that we are very safe. The police work is very tough work. It involves a lot of mental and physical strain. And what needs to be done, they just need to single out the rogue officers and just protect the rest of the officers. Because I've been in the Maasai environment and I know how hostile it can get. And probably sometimes they get triggered and use excessive force. But that doesn't mean that that the police force is a bad force altogether. So they just need to single out the small incidences, but actually congratulate the police officers for the good work that they do each and every day.
Asante Sana. Good to hear from you, Victor. Thank you very much. Let's hear from Francis, who is in Ombaso this morning. Francis, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, tell us your thoughts on this, Francis.
Kwanza niwashukuru kwa hii mada ya leo.
Asante.
Mimi nina swali ambalo nataka kuwauliza pale studio. Mbona askari wakati wanafanya kazi zao ikionekana kwamba askari ameumizwa huwa iongelewi kwamba askari ameumizwa, lakini civilian ikipatikana shida upande wa civilian, that's when tunakuja in na kuanza kusema askari amefanya 1 2 3. That's one. Number 2, nilikuwa nataka kuimake clear to the civilian kama to the state kwamba askari pia ni binadamu. Wewe ukija nipiga kofi, what do you expect from me? You expect me to react, ndio? So it's either I'll condone myself, nitajizuia kureact, of which some human beings hawawezi jizuia. Si ni ukweli? So it's the civilians to know their limits on what they are doing. Na pia police wajue limits zao. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Francis, for your thoughts this morning. Let's take a few more calls. Calling in this morning from Kitengela is Stewart. Good morning.
Hello.
Yes, Stewart, your thoughts on this, please.
Oh, good morning, madam.
Good morning, sir.
I greet everyone in the studio. I like your show very much.
Asante sana.
And today, I really appreciate the topic that you are highlighting. Now, on this one, I think as a society, first, we are living in a society that is depraved, and some sort of people are not limited to their actions because of the challenges they are facing. For instance, the police. Look at the conditions that they live in. Some of them, they are not well taken care of, and that leads to frustration. So you deploy somebody who is frustrated to a task, you will find that person not delivering that task according to the requirements that have been given there. That is what I can say. Number two, based on the civilians. Now, there is no other way civilians have found on how they can express their grievances other than going to the public or even on these protests that we have been seeing to express their views, because the civilians are unheard. So you find that it gets to a very, very delicate situation where people who are supposed to counter that particular activity are not actually in a position to, because they are frustrated. That is the police. Whereas these people are expressing their grievances again, they are in need of immediate results to be seen. So this is a position where we shall end up blaming one another because there is no proper facilitation of these services. Now, my point here is, are the police right or wrong? To me, they are wrong, because having served in the police some years back, there is a limit of how you can attack somebody and you can assess, is this person a threat to me?
Okay, so there are ways in which they can be assessed. I want to be able to take some other calls from folks, but we've definitely been able to hear your point.
Let me say,
really quickly.
The shooting that is happening with the police, I am really, really objecting to it, because this person you're shooting is unarmed. There is a better way you can immobilize this person than shooting him, because shooting someone may lead to death. To me, it is not a proper way of handling civilians.
Stuart, thank you very much. Let's hear from Khalifa, who is in Mombasa. Good morning.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Khalifa. What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you very much. You know, I'm just wonder. You see, there is a saying here in Kenya that corruption fight back. Now, 90% of people who give their thoughts, they are leaning toward the police, and I can't understand this pattern how it's keeping repeating like this. However, it is important to hold everybody responsible for their deeds. We are living in a country where the rule of law and the constitution must be followed to the tilt. For those who say the police force are very tiny, so don't blame. So there are 60 million Kenyans. Now those who commit crime say, I know they're very few, just leave them. Let them commit crime. Don't take them to jail. This doesn't make any sense. Everybody must be responsible. And who should do that? The IG, the top. Wacha hii kuzungumza habari askari ndani apiga risasi ndani nini? No. The BBC report, it is very clear. Somebody was saying uwa. Did they really see this one? His face, what did the IG do? Nothing. And this is not the first time. We had Wagala massacre, 2007, 2008. Okay, we have so many massacres. Nothing is happening. Because it is state-sponsored. Let us speak the truth. State-sponsored.
Khalifa, thank you so much for your truth this morning. I want to take one more caller before we go to this, but thank you very much for calling in. We'll hear from Amos in Bomas. Quickly, sir. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. What are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts are, first, we are safe, apart from a few cases. But again, as we said, I think I agree with the city that police always act on orders. Now, we sometimes blame this police down here. We fail to blame their bosses. And when things go bad, then now their bosses always, they don't take the responsibility. So I don't know, until that time when we will have police officers who also have their mind, they can work on their conscience. Instead of working on orders, then nothing will happen. Because like now, you'll be told, shoot to kill. You don't ask, why am I shooting? You just shoot to kill. And then at the end of the day, what have you achieved?
Thank you very much for your thoughts on that,
working
Amos.
on orders. Yes.
Working on orders maybe not sometimes be the best. Thank you for that. And we can see so many more. And this is very clear that this conversation must happen. And it's time for us to actually open up that conversation and have it. For all of you who called in this morning, for those who contributed to this conversation, it is very clear that we need to have one like this on a broader scale. And we'll do just that. We'll continue with those conversations. For now, it's 9 a.m. Good morning.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. Public Service CS Geoffrey Ruku has said he's been instructed by President William Ruto to adhere to merit-based hiring practices. Speaking in a televised interview this morning, Ruku said embracing meritocracy will help fight corruption in the public service.
Meritocracy, moving forward, must be the norm within the public sector. Meritocracy, that people are going to be promoted on merit. People are going to get jobs on merit. And during my vetting, I committed to the vetting committee that employment in this country will not be on who you know. It will be on merit. It will be on your qualifications, your experience, and how you fit to handle that job.
There are reports from Lamu County that at least 5 police officers were killed and 5 others injured on Tuesday evening as they tackled Al-Shabaab terrorists in Boni Forest. The officers are said to have been ambushed by the terrorists in the Lehelo area. Several terrorists are thought to have been killed during the clash. The Senate Committee on Energy will today visit Thangwe village in Kibwezi East constituency, Makueni County, after residents complained about illnesses they claim were caused by using water from Thangwe River. 10 years ago, a pipeline managed by Kenya Power Company burst and leaked its contents for months undetected, thus polluting the river and the surrounding environment. The committee, led by Siaya Senator Oburu Odinga, is visiting the over 3,000 residents who've been affected. Here are some of them.
Mtu akigonjeka anaendelea tu, mwisho ni figo, mwisho kaburini, kisa tumekunwa mafuta. Tunalalamikia serikali yetu iweze kutusaidia ingalawoni.
Magonjwa yakiadhiri mtu, ukienda hospitali upate matibabu ambayo yanayokidhiri hiyo ugonjwa. Manake mtu akianza kwenda hospitali, unasikia ameenda hospitali kwa miezi 2-3, mwezi 4 ameaga.
Ile kesi kokotini iko na watu 375. Kati ya hawa 1305 walipimwa na tukapeleka ushahidi kotini. Kwa sasa hivi tunangojea uamuzi wa koti. Hii ni kikundi ya pili ambao wakati huo hawakuweza kushtaki. Sasa hivi wanaendelea na kupimwa ili matokeo yatakayopatikana pia yapelekwe kotini.
All police officers stationed at the Angata Barikoi police station in Transmara, Narok County have been transferred following the death of 6 people during violent clashes between residents and the police on Monday. Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen, who confirmed the development, said investigations into the incident were ongoing.
We have already all those transfers that the IG ordered were done immediately. In addition, my office, in consultation with the relevant institutions, have also transferred the Deputy County Commissioner. So we have done all those transfers in the best interest of the citizens and the officers, because transferring them also gives us an opportunity to have an impartial investigations.
US President Donald Trump has removed Mike Waltz from his post as National Security Advisor and will nominate him as Ambassador to the United Nations. In a post on social media, Trump thanked Walz for his work and said he would be temporarily replaced by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who will continue as America's top diplomat. Walz had faced criticism for mistakenly adding a journalist to a chat group where sensitive military plans were discussed, a political embarrassment likely to feature during confirmation hearings for the UN post. The former Florida congressman is the first senior member of the administration to leave the White House in Trump's second term. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Traffic.
All right, let's take a look at what's looking at now in terms of traffic. We've been through a not too crazy traffic hour this morning. Just a little bit of that left as you come off of the Thika Superhighway and head out towards the city. Right around Survey, busy here. And some traffic also coming in from Kiambu Road. But again, we've done very well today. Very little traffic on the roads today. And the Eastern Bypass, that has more or less disappeared as you find your way through towards Outer Ring, right? So we're going to keep an eye on all of this and see what happens. In a half hour or so, it should come to an end. We'll talk Spice FM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It is 6 minutes after 9 o'clock and into the final hour of the Situation Room for this week and getting into the 2nd of May, where we look at conversations that still are important for us to have. We continue those with you. And even as you do, we will be here to continue with those as they are quite important for us to have. We get into our final conversation at this hour, and Fred Mushina is in the hot seat. He is the General Manager, General Insurance, Zamara Risk and Insurance Brokers Limited. And we're looking at e-mobility, sustainability and ESG insurance solutions. He will tell us what all of those things are and how we can actually start to navigate these waters. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine.
Karibu sana.
Asante, and I'm happy to be here.
We're glad that you're here and to be able to work out these insights with and for you. But as you are here, we're going to put you to work. This morning, CT goes around the African continent, and every week he comes back from a different country with a basket full of proverbs. He's going to share that with you, and we would like you to then interpret that for us.
Okay.
Okay.
We are in the final day of our proverbs from the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria. The proverb: a sensible enemy is better than a narrow-minded friend.
Well, I'd say I haven't traveled as much, but in my interpretation of that is more to do with the extent of knowledge that you can't get from listening to somebody rather than being broad-minded and not being attentive to the details of whatever they're saying. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's the great thing about interpretations, isn't it? As we keep saying.
That is the wonderful thing about interpretation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Essentially. So we're getting into a conversation this morning about when we hear these words, sometimes we think a totally different thing from when it comes to insurance. But the insurance conversation has to take us to a place whereby it becomes second nature because we see the benefits of it. But let's start off with, what we've introduced this morning when we talk about e-mobility, when we talk about sustainability, when we talk about ESG, some acronyms that we don't even know what they are. But let's start off with e-mobility when it comes to insurance and give us an introduction into this as we get through.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it's been a journey. As you say, the acronyms are what makes things very difficult for us. But I think I'll just take you step by step into what everything means, especially when we talk about e-mobility. Now, all of us maybe all have used a vehicle. Now, the vehicles that were used previous ages, I would say, are what we call internal combustion engine vehicles. Basically, the ones that have a fuel system where you put in, you go to a petrol station, put in petrol or diesel. Then we came to a scenario where we have hybrid vehicles. Some cases we see petrol engines, combined with gas. Other instances where we have petrol engines combined with, which are also interconnected with the electric aspect of it. So now, finally, the dawn is here where we are saying, let's put all that aside, think about our environment and the gases that we're emitting, and think about electric vehicles, fully electric, no fuel on that vehicle. Yes.
Okay. So the e-mobility is now, when we're talking about, they're not, combustible essentially, and now providing insurance for the same.
Definitely.
Okay. And how exactly does that work?
I would say one, it's in terms of first of all appreciating the concerns that have come from the public in terms of us taking care of Mother Nature. And with that, I think United Nations, in essence, has said, no, I think it's high time we started thinking strong and hard about what we need to do from an individual capacity and also from a corporate capacity. So as such, now we are seeing tendencies where people are saying, no, I really don't need to put petrol, use petrol or diesel. Let me, basically charge my vehicle and go around my duties day in, day out. So in essence, that is what it entails. And again, now as for us as the insurers, we are looking at a scenario where we need to also evolve in our mindset and also provide solutions that speak to the evolving risk nature. Because remember, traditionally, the kind of exposures that were there associated with fuel are slightly different from the exposures that we have that are associated with the electrical component, especially when using the roads.
Which begs the question now, of traditionally you have been covering ICE combustion vehicles in a certain way, but here we are adopting to EVs now, and it's a new area. So how are you adapting to that, and what are some of the areas that you are looking to coverage? Because when you talk about EVs, the battery pack is the biggest thing. Do you cover that as well?
Yes, we do. Again, I'll just go to the main aspect about it, which is looking at how you assess the risk. Now, first things first, when you talk about internal combustion engine vehicles, those ones, what happens in essence is that you go to a valuer who looks at the vehicle, the chassis frame and the body, okay? And based on that, gives a vehicle, given the external, the exterior view, maybe how the body looks like, the kind of I would say the status of the engine in terms of how well it works, the suspension systems and all that, and attaches a value out of that. Now, when you talk about electric vehicles, now you unpack the chassis from the electrical component of it. Now, what happens that the traditional value, again, we look at the chassis and body bit of it and give a value. Now, the electrical component of it, in essence, basically is usually, lifted up and put there. So, in essence, the manufacturers at any one time give you a value of that. Okay? So, when you're doing insurances, those are two kind of aspects we look for when insuring electric vehicles. Now, traditionally, what we do, because again, remember by law, in Kenya, for you to use the road, you must have what you call that party liability. That's as per the Insurance Act, Cap 405, sorry. So, that is a basic one. Now, when it comes to the other aspects, now you insure the chassis, again, comprehensively for material damage as a result of fire, or mainly because of fire and other kind of losses, maybe collision and all that. Then the aspect of the battery, again, you may look at things of breakdown, things associated with breakdown, and again, also the instances of fire. So once you delink all those aspects, you're able to put a value and give comprehensive insurance for all aspects of an e-vehicle. Yes.
Are there enough people in terms of numbers that have then embraced, e-mobility solutions, vehicles being one of them, that then would need to be awareness building then around insurance that you can take to cover those?
Yeah, I think it's a journey for us because even globally, I think China has the highest uptake as per the 2024 numbers, followed by Europe and then US. When it comes to Africa, I think what we are seeing in terms of solutions on e-mobility is the largest uptake, especially in Kenya, is to do with the motor commercial public sector. Okay? Maybe one of us or two of us or all of us have ever hopped into one of these vehicles that are going, especially within the CBD region. So basically, that is where we have seen a lot of uptake. When it comes to individuals, I would say also not really much. What I've seen also is also what I would call the motorbikes that are being used by Uber and the rest. I think there's also a high uptake around that area. Yes, on motorbikes,
What are some of the risks associated with electric vehicles as compared to traditional vehicles?
Okay, now that's a very good question. I think first is understanding how the dynamics work. Now, when you look at an electric vehicle, first of all, the peak temperature is usually higher than a normal engine, the internal combustion engine vehicle. Normal internal combustion engine vehicles, or what we call ICVs, the peak is around 315 degrees. Now, when you talk about an electric vehicle, it doubles that. It's about 615. Now, when you talk about the source of ignition, especially for a fire, in case of a fire, there's what we call thermal runaway. Maybe in the battery system, one cell malfunctions and spreads the fire across. Okay, then there is an impact as a result of collision. Then last but not least, there's an issue to do with the okay, sorry, I lost my thought process there.
Do not worry.
Yeah. So when you look at the ICVs on the extreme, most of the issues are to do with the fuel system and also electric malfunctions. Yes.
Okay. Does the fact that let me paint a picture. Nairobi, when it rains, it floods. With electric vehicles, stima na maji bana utapigwa shock. Is that a concern that one would come and say, I am having my vehicle in Nairobi and I'm concerned about this?
What I would say again, when you look at the fire suppression systems for electric vehicles, they are, I would say, top notch as compared to the internal combustion engine vehicles. Now, interestingly, when you look at the statistics, 25 out of 100,000 vehicles are what would be damaged in case of a fire. Unlike when you look at the ICVs, where we have a case scenario of 1,500 vehicles for every 100,000 vehicle exposure. Okay, so when you look at the kind of fire suppression systems that have been put in place, the likelihood is much higher on ICVs than electric vehicles. Yes.
Okay. So essentially, EVs are much more safer than ICVs.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
When they're on the road and they're being utilized. Remember, they use batteries. And batteries, the source of the longevity of the battery, things like lithium, the process of mining them have always been questioned in terms of what they do in terms of the degradation of the environment and the carbon emissions that come about in the process of actually getting those materials. Yes, but in terms of efficiency and in terms of just the output, in terms of efficiency that you get from an EV vehicle is many more times more than that you'd get from one of these petrol or diesel fuel engines. You're talking about 77% of efficiency compared to 20 to 30% of the vehicle that people like myself still use.
So then based on that, how then do you determine what premiums are going to look like? In terms of what then you would say, okay, in order to cover yourself, do this. How do you come about that?
Now, when you talk about premiums in this aspect, as I mentioned earlier, we look at it from two angles. The chassis frame, okay, that is given a value as per the guidelines. We have insurance guidelines. Now, when it comes to the battery component of it, that's where the innovation has come in terms of what warranties are in place, that determine if what amount of risk you would take as a person. So, in essence, you would have case scenarios where the chassis is insured just like any other normal car, okay, but you have a separate insurance that is put in place for the battery, okay. Now, when you talk about the kind of the rating in itself, we would say a range between 3.5 to 4.5, again, depending on the usage of the vehicle. Is it private? Is it commercial? But now, when it comes to the battery, I think from about 8.5 to about 1.25% of the value of the battery component. That is the kind of insurance you will have.
But also
in terms of a rate.
The lifespan of the batteries are 10 to 20 years.
Yes.
But they can be renewed, meaning the need to buy a completely new battery and to manufacture that many more doesn't arise, because if this is something that can be renewed and its life restored, then it means that entire process, and by the way, with no loss of efficiency, the people who are in this particular industry seem to have done a lot of their homework, isn't it?
True.
It's like they've looked at all the issues that arose from the vehicles we're accustomed to using and are still using, and they've come up with things that would ensure that everything you would look for, you would get. But there's something that always bothers me about this. We know where petrol stations are. Petrol stations for EVs.
Charging stations.
New petrol station. Petrol station is generic.
It doesn't matter what.
It doesn't matter what it is, the petrol station. Because, yes.
Yeah, what I would say, and again I'll agree with you on that, is that I think it's something new to this market. And with that, of course, there's I would say the Kenyan attitude of wait and see how the whole infrastructure comes up and the convenience of it. Now, as you said, it's far and large because from my own experience as Zamara, because we've had a chance to offer insurance solutions for some of these players, especially in the public service sector, is that you'll find that in Nairobi there's one particular place that the vehicles are taken to for charging.
One?
Yes.
For public service vehicles?
Yes.
Nairobi is big.
Yes. And now what happens is that depending on the lifespan of after every charge, then you go there and recharge for about 1.5 hours or so, then go back to the road. So they usually sequence the timings to ensure at any one point all the charging stations, all the charging systems have a vehicle that they are servicing. So it's one area but with very many charging systems. Now, I think in terms of, again from my experience, in terms of the infrastructure that needs to be put in, remember, this one is not like the normal electricity in our house, the single phase. It's 3 kVA in terms of the kind of the kind of power you need to ensure that a vehicle is fully charged. So you will find that in terms of an investment, it's not something that you would say like, hey, I go outside my estate and put up one, like we've seen. It needs a lot of investment in terms of first of all, having a strategic location, and secondly, ensuring that you have the kind of equipment that is needed to ensure the safety. Again, remember, the petrol stations we have already in place right now, most of them would also like to diversify into offering those kind of services. But remember, at the same time, when the intermix now between the 3 kVA kind of electricity and petrol and all this, I think we need to do a little bit more research on that and also see how best we can take advantage or leverage on existing facilities.
Which would ask the questions, what kind of partnerships do you have with players in this sector, say manufacturers, the charging centers and whatnot? Because yes, I've seen a few petrol stations that have these charging spots. So what kind of partnerships do you have with these players in the sector?
First, I think there's a lot of inquiries from them in terms of the insurance solutions that are there and adequacy of them, given now the shift. Okay. Now, for us, I think, as I've said, is a learning experience for us, even as Zamara, because one, there's limited data. Most of it of what we are able to synchronize is based on our research, from our research and analytics department. Now, based on that, now we're able to say, we have, remember, Zamara itself is an insurance consultant. So we have players like insurance companies, okay, in that ecosystem. Again, also we have the lenders, given the capital, the capex that is needed to set up some of these facilities. So our work is pretty simple. It's just to look, work closely with those players I've mentioned to ensure that, one, the scope of coverage that is provided is adequate and speaks to the need on the ground. Then second, because again, for affordability in insurance is everything. Do we have scenarios of partners, from the finance sector who are able now to come in and say, as long as this is watertight and the player you're working with in terms of an insurer is reputable, we will give you insurance premium financing kind of solutions to ensure that the whole thing is tied up. Yes. And so we work closely with insurance companies, work closely with financials, given that they also have what you call lender insurance requirements for that.
Whenever something is new in the market, there are usually more questions than there are responses. For instance, yes, you mentioned this one station that has many outlets, so it caters for those who need that service within Nairobi. If you are in the know, do we have such stations outside Nairobi?
None that I'm aware of currently. Yep.
See, I ask because the likelihood of these EV vehicles becoming more and more the norm is on the rise, which means, yes. But as they do, other issues related to them will also come to the fore. And again, questions will rise. Like, Is it the length of time you've used the vehicle in terms of hours that determines the recharge? Is it the kilometers that you travel? Okay. And when you recharge, what is the length of time that is the guarantee? Then you'll also be asked, what if it isn't a public service vehicle and I need to recharge it in my own house? Are there facilities? Are there appliances that one can use? These are the questions I would ask. And if I were to use this in my house and my house is insured, does it pose a threat to my house? Because this is an introduction of something new that probably requires more power. Or if I'm to charge this, am I to switch off every other electrical appliance in my house
to charge the car?
Charge my car.
Yeah. I think when you talk about there is always the issue of range. In terms of, so you'd buy a vehicle that goes, say, around 500 kilometers, you know what I mean? And so that would mean you just do your math from here to Nakuru would be how much? Because I know Naivasha has a charging station.
Kilometers from
Yes,
here to Nakuru.
yes. So if you're going there and back, perhaps a single charge would take you and back. But then again, if you're going long range, say I'm living here to Mombasa, where do I get to recharge? Then again, if I need 3 kV in my home, that's an additional cost because nahitaji stima mzito. So how do we handle such?
As I've mentioned, I think first of all, the government as a key player in this needs to, really put in more effort to ensure that these facilities, as you've said, in terms of reaching the population. Yeah. Now, I know there are very many players who are interested in having this up and running as soon as possible. Now, the reason I said, and as you've correctly put it, it depends on utilization. Remember, as long as your phone is idle, or I would say your vehicle is stagnant at one point, there's no utilization of power. Yeah. So it depends on the number of kilometers you're able to do at any one particular time. So with what I would say with evolution, we are seeing scenarios where the cars that are coming out being more long range than were initially. Okay. As an example, initially you used to do like 300 kilometers. Now you can do up to 500 kilometers. So especially I'll give an example of the public sector. That means that is a distance from here to Naivasha, like twice or thrice. No, a return journey. And then by the time you're going back, then the power is down. Yeah. So in terms of infrastructure, what I know and I'm aware of is that in the key cities, the initiatives that are being put in place, again through collaboration, to ensure that, yes, by the time you reach there, the facility is there. But again, you remember the same challenge we had with the hybrid vehicles. Proto, one of the companies, started installing gases on ICVs. I mean, there are very few places you would go to, fill the gas apart from here industrial area. So it's the same kind of challenge. People are waiting and saying, hey, now with that kind of inconvenience, I'd rather put my 1,000 on my car and travel. Once I'm wherever I am, I add another 1,000 and travel. So it's something I think we need to watch over time and see how that plays out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then when you have... does it follow, because obviously we're dealing with a different kind of insurance here when it comes to this e-mobility, and we'll look at sustainability when we come back from the break, but do you then have a difference in how premiums are paid, or would you follow the same way that you would with other insurance?
Okay, in terms of premium payment, again, I said we just delink the two aspects, but come up with a holistic solution.
And does it differ from person to person, or is it just an industry practice? How the premiums are paid with e-mobility solutions?
No, it doesn't differ from person to person. Yes, it goes with the limitation. How you use your vehicle. Generally. Is it a public service vehicle? Is it a personal vehicle for your own business or your errands? Yeah, the premium basically is determined in that manner, similar to what we do for the internal combustion engine vehicles. Yeah. No much variation as we speak right now, dependent on your driving habits and all that. I think that, again, once we start seeing traction on telematics, then we'll be able to see premium that is personalized to you in terms of your habits, driving habits and all that, vehicle utilization. Yes.
It is a new system, and with that comes challenges that maybe are not foreseen. And one would beg to ask, when I come to you, is there room for I want third party, or all I want is comprehensive? Do you have such flexibility, or when it comes to insuring EVs, it is this bracket and that's where you fit in?
No, there is flexibility. Remember, by law, what you need for you to be on the road is third party insurance. Okay. Now, when you talk of comprehensive insurance, it's based on your, first of all, appetite. Okay. What do I mean by appetite? It's in terms of risk. Let me call it risk appetite. Yeah?
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. In terms of, in case I was involved in an accident, do I have resources to repair the car with my own resources? Yes. Yeah. Or do I transfer that issue to an insurer? Okay. For consideration of a small premium. So basically that is that. So again, depending on your risk appetite, then you decide, do I go for comprehensive or third party? But in most instances, again, given the what we're talking in terms of complexity of the entire thing, it's highly recommendable you consider taking the comprehensive bit of the insurance, because you see now that burden now is pushed over to the insurer. Remember, once a vehicle is involved in an accident, now you tell the insurer, hey, I've already paid my premiums, this is the paperwork, please put me to the position I was before the accident. You would imagine a scenario where, given now the scarcity of these spare parts and also the batteries and all these things, you will have to source them by yourselves. So you put the burden to the insurer through your risk consultant, who is the broker in this case, to ensure that the providers who are here, who have the capacity and the muscle, bring in and fit in the right kind of equipment. Yeah. I mean, that is the kind of comfort we look for in insurance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll continue with this conversation. We're going to come and look at sustainability, and then you tell us what ESG is all about, and then how this also works in these circles. Fred Muchina is the general manager of general insurance and at Zamara Risk and Insurance Brokers Limited, and we're looking at opening up these fields when it comes to new sustainable e-mobility solutions in the market today. We continue with this when we come back from the break at 9:30.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Where have you heard about moringaschool.com?
Moringaschool.com. Hapo ndio future tech iko boss.
Kenya's top software engineers, data analysts, cybersecurity pros, and UI UX design ninjas wanatoka Moringa.
Hey, na unasema hauna degree? No stress. Whether you are looking to upskill, stuck in a boring job, ama you are starting from zero, Moringa's got your back, man.
Visit moringaschool.com, where anyone can create their future.
This back to school season, Naivas is your home of deals.
Na tunarudi term 2 in style bila kufinya shopping list, kwa sababu Naivas Kiloko imesort uniforms, lunchbox goodies, stationery na school bags. Kila kitu ya back to school iko under one roof.
Furahia crazy discount na unbeatable daily prizes kufanya back to school iwe shwari. Naivas, kijaze kikapu kibonge, always saving your money every day.
Save money on your rising electricity bill with StarTime Solar Home Solution. We offer a complete home and commercial energy saving system that includes solar panels with 15-year warranty, lithium battery with 10 years warranty, and an inverter with 5 years warranty. StarTime Solar Home Solution is efficient, reliable, and safe to power essential appliances, complete home lighting, refrigerators, air conditioners, washing machines, microwaves, iron box, instant shower, and entertainment devices, television, computers, Wi-Fi, and so much more. Say yes to reduced electricity bills and call us today on 0719 077 777 and get started on your green energy journey today. StarTime Solar. Power your life.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. The weather with SpiceFM.
Sunny conditions in Nairobi this morning, currently at 17 degrees. We'll see highs of 26 and lows of 15. It's 17 and sunny into Nakuru with highs of 27, while at 18 sunny in Nyeri, we'll see highs of 25. It's 19 and sunny into Eldoret with highs of 26, while Mombasa is raining at 27. We'll see highs of 31 and sunny conditions at 29 into Malindi. It's 23 and sunny in Kisumu with highs of 30, while at 22 it'll be sunny into Kakamega with highs of 30. Cloudy at 20, I beg your pardon, into Kampala with highs of 28, and it's 25 and sunny in Dar es Salaam with highs of 30. It's cloudy at 12 in Johannesburg with highs of 18, while at 30 mostly sunny in Mogadishu with highs of 32. It's 19 and sunny in Addis Ababa with highs of 26, while sunny at 26 in Lagos it's cloudy at 23 into Kinshasa, 17 and cloudy in Beijing, with 15 and sunny conditions in Paris, and cloudy conditions at 16 in London, and it's cloudy at 15 in New York.
Traffic.
All right, traffic has not done us too poorly this Friday morning. It's been all right. Folks getting where they need to go to this morning, getting in easy. We're seeing just a little bit left of that on the Thika Superhighway and some traffic on the Hulu Highway as you get into the CBD. Apart from that, all looks pretty good. Hopefully we can keep it just so through the day. Talk to us through the morning. SpiceFM, KE on X.
So as we say, may the road rise to meet you.
May the road rise to meet you. May the wind constantly be at your back. We'll be 11:30 before the bloody devil knows we are dead.
All right, and wish me happy birthday, friend.
Happy birthday, Baba. Tunaanza leo.
See you, bruv.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Tina is the General Manager, General Insurance, Zamara Risk and Insurance Brokers Limited. And this morning, as we continue this conversation, we're talking about e-mobility, sustainability, and ESG insurance solutions. So, I mean, looking at e-mobility, that we kind of have an insight into that, Fred. Now, when we talk about sustainability and ESG insurance solutions, what are we talking about, essentially? Let's start with sustainability.
Now, for sustainability, I think the most important thing is to appreciate the fact that over time, insurance has evolved in terms of the kind of solutions that is needed. But we've seen that as time goes on, we've seen issues where even we have emerging risks that have come up with the way society itself is evolving in nature. So the right way to look at it is in terms of how has society evolved over time, and how are we adapting to that, and how is insurance as a risk transfer mechanism being able to provide the correct solutions to ensure that over time we're able to evolve as the risks are evolving. So in a snapshot, it's just about how the macro environment is evolving, and how best insurance is providing solutions in line with the new needs that are coming up. Yes.
Do we see a fast shift from how things have been traditionally done until now, when we're talking about sustainability solutions that, essentially will be sustained over time? Is there a big difference between what has been done before and what is now being introduced?
Yes, there is. Again, when you look at the history of insurance, way back in the 17th century, we used to look at the ships and, yeah. and the cargo that was being carried. Yeah, that is where people used to perceive the need for insurance. Now development has started kicking in terms of infrastructure coming up, development of cities, and all this. Now with that, again, we are seeing that there is increasing attention being given, and now with the United Nations coming in, they are saying now the way we are in terms of development there, and also the societal needs, there's need to look at the whole thing. Okay, so with that, we have scenarios where we are looking at things to do with how do we eradicate poverty, how do we ensure zero hunger, how do we have sustainable communities, okay, and last but not least, issues to do with the kind of energy we have in place. Is it clean? Is it adequate? Okay, so with that, now we are seeing a shift where we are being asked to think differently on the way we provide solutions in that space. Yes.
So you see, companies right now are going green based off the need to have cleaner environments and also giving back to the society. So say Aseto and the daughter's company has been releasing, say, 20% of CO2 to the environment, but intentionally I decided to lower that by doing what? I have solar systems. My vehicles that I'm using are EVs. So in terms of the green certificate that I have, gives me an upper hand in saying that I am environmentally friendly. When I come to get insurance from you, do I get incentives because I have the green certificates that says he is doing better in terms of carbon footprint in the environment?
What I would say globally, I think that is the practice that we are being pushed towards. Now, internally or locally in Kenya, I think we are lagging a bit behind on that because this the discussions are just ripe as we speak right now, and there is a strong push in terms of, as you've correctly put it, environment. If you are better at emitting lesser gases, you should ideally enjoy a rebate on that. So those are the discussions we are having with our partners to ensure that people, as we push it towards, our compliance, are there any benefits or any incentives towards that direction? So even in terms of, the kind of solutions we are proposing here, things to do with pay as you go. I mean, if you're not using your vehicle, the internal combustion vehicle, I mean, we shouldn't charge you an annual premium. Only you pick insurance for the period you are using your vehicle. And also, in a way, you're also reducing on the gas emissions to the society. Yeah. When it comes to the kind of, I would say, you adopting to renewable energy for your house, again, that's an area we're having discussions because, remember, you are contributing to a better environment. Yeah. And as such, you need to see the impact of that in terms of even the pricing of your products. So it's a ripe discussion, I would say, in the market, and it's something we are trying to work towards. And hopefully in the next few years, because again, remember, insurance is based on numbers and the data that we get. So when we have limited data, again, insurance usually are hesitant to price a risk, again, because of the homogeneity of the same. So we try as much as possible to come up with statistics of what is happening and all that, and also come up with a claims experience or loss experience to come up with an appropriate product and also price it right too. Yes.
Do we see that even with the sustainability conversation that we're then able to, is it a conversation that is happening? I mean, we want to sometimes think that the world is here, but we see what's happening in other parts of the world. Do we often, are we in line with what's happening in other places as well?
Yes, we are. And I would say, like for us as Zamara, I think earlier this year, we also subscribed to the Nairobi Declaration on Sustainable Insurances, basically saying that moving forward, we want to be part of that bigger or broader discussions in terms of educating the masses in terms of how best to adopt. Then secondly, working in collaboration with other partners to ensure that the solutions that we are bringing in place are able now to incentivize that kind of move towards sustainability and actions that are geared towards that. Yes.
Okay. Talk to us about ESG.
Basically, I think I'll just break it down. E, environment; S, the social aspect of it; and G, the governance bit of it. So when you look at it from that angle, it becomes very easy. We've spoken about how our behaviors on an individual level, and even as a community, and also as companies, contributes to the emissions that affect the globe. Now, the second aspect of it on environment is about pollution. Okay. Now again, how our practices, are contributing to the increased pollution. I think the discussion right now, every other time government is in place and is talking about things. We hear of Nairobi River and cleaning it up, but people really ask, what can I do as a person to ensure that the environment is safer and contribute to the bigger discussions in line with the government's agenda around that. So basically, I think for us, it's more of looking at environment from a personal level and how the same can be moved even from a corporate level, okay, and a community level where we live and in areas we interact. So on the second aspect of the social, again, it goes with quote unquote the human rights aspect of it in terms of the workplace. What are we putting in place to ensure that the workplace is adequate and convenient for all our workers? And that again even goes to the home level, because we even have workers at that level. So basically it's all to do with that kind of aspects of taking good care of each other. Governance again it can only be overemphasized. Good corporate governance is the way to go. And again, remember, one, it goes with compliance in terms of how we are complying with the registration. Okay. Secondly, it goes with things to do with the composition, the people we put into some of these positions to ensure that they drive the agenda that is in sync with the overall ESG objective. Then the issues to do with the transparency and accountability. Again, it just goes hand in hand on the governance aspect of things. Yeah. So when you look at ESG, you just unpack it and look at the various options and the various facets, and then you deep dive on them.
You know, whenever you talk of insurance, especially if you're talking about something that is fairly new, people want to understand, okay, where has this worked? Without necessarily mentioning names, are there specific fields where, or in areas where you provided this insurance?
Yes, I would say, again, even in our own workplaces, one, when you look at a particular cover that we call directors and officers liability, it basically looks at how well companies have been done at the managerial and tech and board level in terms of providing what we promise to provide. Now, one of the things we do is interrogate the various aspects of what we've put in place in terms of policy to ensure that we minimize the exposure of that particular institution. Now, when the stronger the policies that are in place, and more experienced the people who are running that agenda for the company, then the premium becomes lower. So it's something that's a real case scenario that is being offered across board, even in this market. From that aspect. When you go to the social aspect of things, again, when we look at how you have put in place in terms of equipment to provide health and safe work environment, again, that is a consideration we usually put in place when we are pricing the work injury policy. Okay, or what is commonly known as WIBA. So those are some of the things we look and say, based on these kind of things, could you extend a discount? Okay, so it's being applied locally.
So today I decided to go green. I have bought my swanky 7 million vehicle and I'm looking for a partner. Why? To insure me, right? Why would I go to Zamara? Why Zamara?
I think as Zamara, one thing we've done is a lot of research in terms of what has come in terms of the level of technology of the equipment that is being put in place. And again, based on that, we're able to, come up with a solution that specifically addresses all the concerns related with the kind and the level of complexity of the machine you've brought in. Okay, so our work is pretty simple. It's just come up with sit down, look at your need at length. Okay, and based on that, now we're able to say the warranties that are there for the kind of battery system that you have in place. How do you work around this? Do we just say it's a one size fits all? No, because again, remember, different companies, maybe it's from Europe or from China, the warranty period, as you correctly put it, differs. So how does that translate to a cost saving on your end? Secondly, when we talk about things like, when you come to the public sector angle of it, what have you put in place in terms of systems to monitor the driving habits? Okay. Secondly, to motivate people to be safe drivers out there. And based on that, we're able to articulate clearly to an insurer and get for you discounts around that space. So again, it's more of the kind of us working the journey with our research team to ensure that whatever is changing, we are also aware and fully understand what you've brought in and the behaviors around that and get a right solution for you. And that is unique for us.
Right.
Yes.
So then, of course, so the world continues to change, right? And we're looking at rapidly changing activities. So then, of course, to that, there would be solutions that are required as a result of that change. Do you find that adaptability towards that change is something that you invest in? And that, there could arise a situation where somebody has something that you may not have had a quick one to. And if then that adaptability is there, if you needed a quick solution to something, how quick then would be the time that you would go through to be able to say, okay, well, we can create a solution for you? In addition to that, we also see insurance, you can pick now from a buffet, as opposed to when somebody will come to you and say, well, this is what we have, you have to take it. Do we have that kind of adaptability also with these new solutions that we are in now?
Yeah, thank you. I think it all goes back to the way the institution is set to provide these solutions. We as Zamara, I think the biggest resource we have in place is investing in the right talent in terms of a data analysts, research team, advisors, okay? And these people, every other time, they have like what I can call teams that are put in place to, just research on what is happening, the evolving trends, okay, and how best we can engage our other partners to ensure that we are moving with the times, Okay, so I think that's our biggest strength in terms of how best we're able to study our environment locally and globally. And again, remember, Zamara is not only domiciled in Nairobi. We also have presence in 8 other different countries in Africa and also the MENA region. So for us, it's very important that all the teams we have in place, including the legal and compliance team, are able to look at what is happening in the various regions. And again, also we work closely with the global networks or partners outside Africa, who are able also to share with us good insights to help us as we craft most of these solutions. Again, remember, this is a new thing. For example, the e-mobility thing is new. It's a new concept to us in Africa and many of the other countries we are in. So in developed markets like China and Europe, again, we can only learn from them. And so how fast do the teams sit together through peer-to-peer training and understand these concepts? And how now can the local teams, adopt and make it suitable for the local market? So I think that is that. For us, research, data analytics is the most important thing.
Beyond coming to a show like this one to sort of like make it plain so that those who listen and those who watch can understand, what other efforts has Zamara made to get the public to understand this?
Okay, I think for us, the way we look at it is on two fronts. One, how do we ensure that even the existing clients are able to understand how the whole thing is evolving in terms of ESG and all that? So wherever we go to meet our clients, I think we are very clear on how we impact the information in a very simple manner. Now, the second way goes to the public, okay? One, I can say we usually have conferences that we do. Secondly, we usually go, again, through social media, WhatsApp, even radio stations like this, just to speak and say these are the kind of risks that are out here. And this is what Zamara is able to put in terms of a solution that best speaks to various sectors. Yeah. So for us, the way we usually approach it is more of the sector. We look at it from a sector level and then see how best we can engage the stakeholders at that level. Now, again, to be more granular, again, we look at the various levels. Are you targeting the C-suite in terms of information? Now, for us as Zamara, again, we look at how best do you impact the information to that level. Do you do like a breakfast for them or an evening, engage them and tell them these are the new emerging trends? And this actually began a while back. When cyber became an issue, remember there's a time nobody used to care about cyber insurance and all these kind of things. But you see, speaking to an ordinary person or maybe a middle level manager, it doesn't make a lot of sense until you get buy-in from the C-suite of that particular institution. So again, it's just looking at the best way to impact the information. That is what works best for us.
You see, when you talk about the research that you do, I want to tie it in with the partnerships that you would have with the people who either assemble such vehicles or bring them into the country. There's always this little mention of pilot. So that beyond just people seeing the vehicles, because it is advertised, this is probably an electric vehicle and so forth, but experience that is expressed by people who have tried it out and know. And this is something that those who supply these vehicles and institutions like yours would be able to provide, so that it's not just one person. Across the societal divide in Kenya, individuals who can say, I supply AB, I do this and this and this, and this has been my experience with this and this and this. When experience is spoken of, and one can identify that, yes, these are wananchi ambao wanaongea juu ya hii, the issue then of insurance is simplified somewhat. What do you think?
Yes, I agree with you because I think one of the biggest problems we've had is to make it look like insurance is all full of jargons and all that. But to be honest, I think the way we try, relay the information, first of all, is by first understanding what is it we are talking about. Okay? The moment I'm able to understand it, then it's easier for me to be able to communicate it to the larger masses. So a good case scenario is when we got the first requests around electric vehicles. I think we did a lot in terms of bringing in players across the industry, people who have traditionally dealt with the ICVs, the internal combustion engine vehicles, and told them, now, this is what has happened in the market. How do we interpret this? Because questions start arising the moment the first car comes in, and then we have issues that now need insurance intervention. So as such, personally, I think I've been involved in like 3 or 4 key meetings, involved with the key players, to just sit down and first of all demystify what do we do in this case. Because remember, as I mentioned, initially we just used to send a value and tell a valuer, look at that car, give us a valuation report and move forward. But now we have a scenario where you have to break it down. Okay? Now what do we do with the battery system? Now remember, there are manufacturers' warranties in this case. What do you do in terms of ensuring that, irrespective of that, the ordinary mwananchi is able to understand, now in case I have a claim, this is what I do, not taking to Kirinyaga Road for repair. Okay? So for us, by the moment you're able to understand these things, then you're able to disseminate the information and tell them, now, if this happens now, the best way to go about it, this is the you know, like a clear laid out procedure that you need to follow when you're involved in an accident. Yes.
You know, there are myths out there that I'd rather stick with what I'm used to, the internal combustion engines, because that is what I know, because apparently EVs are expensive to insure. Break that down.
Again, remember, for insurance, it's a rate based on the value. Okay? Now, for personal vehicles, not the public service by and large, you would see scenarios where the guidelines we are getting is to ensure that the higher the value, the lower the rate. Okay? I think there was a lot of hullabaloo in the industry when we tried to do that, and somebody was saying, like, I've had my car for the last 20 years, I've never been involved in an accident. You're telling me now I have to pay more, or you're saying me you cannot get comprehensive insurance, as compared to my other friend here who bought a 10 million car, and you are saying now him is low risk. Okay? So what, in essence, what you're looking at is, first of all, the technology. Because insurance is supposed to take you back to where you were before the accident. So in that instance, if you don't price it correctly, remember, that cost after you transfer, the burden to the insurance company, then they face a bigger task in terms of sourcing of these spare parts. And again, remember, most of them are not even manufactured locally and not locally available. So even the dollar fluctuation becomes a bigger problem to it. Okay? So for us, I think right now we have a base rate that we work with, again, based on the guidance that we have in place. But again, those are the dynamics we look at, and we see that people saying, like, now if you bring a Tesla, you not expect like a 3% rate as compared to maybe a Hyundai that is imported and fully electric. So those are some of the dynamics we're able to look at. Yes.
Of more significance, we see a proliferation of petrol stations. It offers a driver safety. You know, if these fellows don't have fuel, I can go next. I know, because I have a friend who has tested these vehicles. Some vehicles come with a portable charger.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And his experience was that he found he had gone to a certain destination and the charging facility that was there was out of order. So now, use the portable charger. It took him 30 hours. 30. Okay? It's information that is useful to those who bring these things so that they understand. But the guarantees, if I am insured, then I have an inconvenience because that particular site is out of order and I have to spend 30 hours. And if I'm conducting business, would insurance cover my loss of loss of use for that vehicle, which is directly related to the business that I was conducting? Because 30 hours, my friend,
it's a long time.
It's like an entire day gone.
Yes. Now remember, what insurance covers for must be accidental in nature for motor vehicle.
So this one, what I've just said, is accidental.
Yes. Now a malfunctioned charging system. In essence, you're saying you went and found a place where the other
you're
party.
told this is where the charge that is out of order.
Yes. You see, now when you pick comprehensive insurance for your own case, it's accidental caused by you or somebody using your vehicle with your permission. Okay. Now when I look at it from the aspect of maybe a petrol station that has that charger, and maybe it's malfunctioning and it damages my car, okay? In that instance, it's the other person's insurance that is supposed to take care of this aspect of things. Yeah?
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, I mean, it's good to hear and just to be able to understand, you know, how we're starting to navigate these waters. But we want to thank you for being here this morning and at least being able to hold a hand and walk us through. Its world is changing and it's going to get into those spaces. It's good to get those insights from the get-go. Fred Muchina is the General Manager, General Insurance, Zamara Risk and Insurance Brokers Limited, has been our guest this hour. Thank you so much for being here this morning. And thank you for making it Kenya's biggest conversation through this week and wrapping it up the week with us. We want to remind you that even as we get into the weekend, Edward Francis Kwach, dear friends, we lost our brother, we lost our friend, we lost our uncle and our son, Edward Francis Kwach, on Monday, the 28th of April, 2025. We thank you for the messages and the condolences, the phone calls, the prayers, encouragement and support. As we prepare to give Carrie a befitting send-off, we welcome you to support the Kwach family. Carrie will be laid to rest on the 10th of May, that's Saturday, at the family home in Simenya, and we will be updating you on the journey towards that day. You can support us through the following pay bill. That's 8061531, and the account would be your name. The pay bill again, 8061531, and the account would be your name. Thank you so much as we continue saying goodbye to our friend. Good morning at 10 a.m.
We shall see you tomorrow. So as we say, may the road rise to meet you. May the wind constantly be at your back. Will you be half an eye in heaven? Before that, the bloody devil knows that you are dead. Peace.
Spice up your life